We welcome you back to the Kingdome in Seattle, Washington. The Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks. And there is Marv Levy in his first year as head coach at Kansas City. Ed, he's an interesting gentleman.
He has changed a lot of things in the Kansas City structure. Now, at the beginning of his job, he said his only goal this year was for the Chiefs to show marked improvement. Now, I think the outcome of today's game goes a long way in him reaching that goal or not.
Marv Levy, who brought the wing tee back to pro football, and there is Jack Patera. Went to high school down in Portland at Washington High School, has a tremendous coaching background, and what a job he has done along with John Thompson and the entire staff of the Seahawks here.
You know, Jack Patera has made the Seahawks a contender, and they were in the playoffs, or at least in contention until last week, and that's a fabulous accomplishment for having a team that's only been in existence 3 years.
Seattle lost 37-10 at San Diego. Fouts had a big day in that ball game. The Chiefs were beaten at Denver. Denver beaten yesterday in a toughie by Pittsburgh. Seattle right behind. Kansas City's going to finish last in the AFC West. The AFC Central belongs to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Houston's a wild card team. Cincinnati really putting it on Cleveland today. And in the AFC East, it's New England. And, of course, Miami, the wild card. They play tomorrow. Then we'll find out who gets the home team advantage in the wild card situation in the American Football Conference. John Leipold signed up again this week by Seattle. Leipold, 32-year-old veteran. He's been around. Efrain Herrera had his appendix separated from himself early this week, but Herrera is here and is expected to do some kicking in close.
Think of this possibility, Jay. Last second of the game, Efrain Herrera could come in, kick the field goal. Now he might loosen his stitches, but he would be carried off the field as the hero.
Eddie Payton, the deep man. Eddie and his brother Walter lost their father this week in Columbia, Mississippi, an apparent heart attack. We're ready to go. Hope you'll enjoy it wherever you are this afternoon. It is Payton at the 8, at the 15, the 20, 25, out over the 30, breaks it to the 35-yard line. Still going out over the 40. A fine return by Eddie Payton, who was averaging 26-yarder return, third in the AFC, a 34-yard return for Payton. Mike Livingston will quarterback the Chiefs. Reed, Morgado, and Knight in the backfield. Henry Marshall, the wide receiver. The tight end is Walter White.
And the Chiefs' offensive line, I think, is the strong part of this franchise. Matt Herkenhoff has had a great year at left tackle. Simmons, Redney, Condon, and Getty round out a superb offensive line.
First down, Chiefs from their own 41-yard line. In motion, McKnight. The handoff going to Reed. Reed, who needs 68 yards, we'll say it again, to be a 1,000-yard rusher. Hit by the linebacker, Green, number 56, as he got the ball just over the 45.
And it is possible, Jay, we were talking about this last night, that with some outstanding games today, we'd have a lot of 1,000-yard rushers. But right now, let's set the defense. Ernie Price, Dennis Boyd, Steve Niehaus, and Bill Gregory, a good pass rusher, starts at right end.
Niehaus starting for Sandifer today. Green, Beeson, and Butler, the linebackers. Beeson, a good one. They like him. Second down and 6. The handoff to the man in motion. McKnight cuts it back up. Tries to break outside and was hit at the 48-yard line. Sammy Green again, the left linebacker, 56. Dave Brown, 22, the corner, coming up to make a good play.
And Dave Brown had a big effect on who won the football game last time in Kansas City. Cornell Webster is a good cornerback, starts on the left side, and Autry Beeman and John Harris give the Seattle Seahawks a good, young defensive backfield.
The Chiefs go into the pro set. Dorsey, number 80, comes in. MacArthur Lane, the old veteran, 42, is there. So it's Marshall, 89, and Dorsey, 80, the wide receivers. Third down, 4. The ball at the 48-yard line. The handoff going to Reed, and Reed has got the first down. They went to the pro set, but decided to go with Reed, and he is down to the 46-yard line, and the first down. Ernie Price, 62, on the tackle.
This was a very smart call by Mike Livingston. He's in a passing offensive formation. Seattle brought in their passing defensive formation, 5 defensive backs. Mike decided to run the ball and picked up the first down.
The fifth back in that nickel for the Seahawks is Keith Simpson, 48. Now we're back to Reed, Morgado, and McKnight. Double tight end set. Tony Samuels, 81, in there along with Walter White. The man in motion is Reed. They're obviously going to Reed early to establish that running game out of the wing tee. Keith Butler, 53, the right linebacker for the Seahawks, makes the tackle at the 40-yard line.
That's a good gain for first down. When you have a running type offense, you have to gain 5 or 6 yards on first down. Now Kansas City is in control with their ball control running type offense.
Seattle held Kansas City to 124 yards rushing back on November the 19th. And that was the lowest total of the year. Livingston was 18 for 33 and 231 yards in the game. Morgado gets the call for the first time. He is near the 37-yard line. Dennis Boyd, the left tackle, 68, making the play. Morgado starts the day with 530 yards. Reed with 932. McKnight started with 581. This is a team that has 5 100-yard rushers on it, and that is a new NFL record.
And they are proud of that fact, and they have, of course, broken the team rushing record. They've done a good job running the football. 3rd down and 2.
It is Reed again. He's in trouble. They were keying on him. He doesn't get it. Leading the way was John Harris, 44, and Terry Beeson, 58.
And this is a big play for Seattle, because now Kansas City is going to have to punt. They can't go for it on 4th down. It's a delayed sweep to Tony Reed. Seattle just guessed right, slanted that direction, and you can see Harris was actually in the backfield making the tackle.
Back to receive this punt. Rufus Crawford. Zenon Andrusician will punt it away. He is 3rd in the AFC with a 41-yard average. Going for the coffin corner. Ball bounding back and out of bounds, and it will belong to Seattle near the 10-yard line. We'll be back to take a look at the Seahawks on offense right after this timeout. There's the starting backfield, but as I look out, I see Al Hunter, number 24, playing for Don Testerman right now. So it is Smith and Hunter behind Jim Zorn. First down from the 10-yard line. Zorn handing it off to Al Hunter, the former Notre Dame star, the first man ever at Notre Dame to gain 1,000 yards. He's out to the 14-yard line where Whitney Paul, the left outside linebacker, 53, made the play.
And of course, as we look at the receiving core of Seattle, the name Steve Largent blares in front of the other two. He's a great young receiver, Sam McCullum, starting on the other side. Now, there's a new tight end for Seattle today. John Sawyer has taken over that spot. Probably if they have a weakness, it's at that position.
We'll see Sawyer. And now we have Howard, number 87, in there at tight end. 2nd down and 6 from the 14. Al Hunter again. And Hunter is across the 15 out to the 17-yard line, a pickup of about 5. Dave Rosamek, 55 on the tackle, 67 still also there.
For some reason, the Kansas City defense and Art Still and Don Parrish and Sylvester Hicks, we talked about earlier in the broadcast, are improving tremendously. And as they improve, this defense will improve proportionately.
We've got Bullard, number 72, who is a tackle and also comes into play tight end along with Howard. As you look at the Kansas City linebackers, penalty marker down, the first penalty in the game. Sherman Smith out over the 25, still going out to the 29-yard line. Gary Barbaro on the tackle. Smith picking up 10. Sherman Smith. Roy Hammerman, our producer, says he runs like a tank. That's a pun, folks. Penalty indicated against Kansas City. Our referee is Bob Frederick. The umpire, Lou Palazzi. Sid Seaman, Art Holst, Bill Swanson, Vince Jacob, and Bob Wortman rounding out the crew. Let's listen to the call on this penalty.
Defense, offside, number, unreported. It was the middle guard. First down.
Don Parrish, the man who was called on, number 61. A first down for the Seahawks. They operate at their own 30-yard line. The two wide receivers set to the right side. 9:29 to play, first quarter. No score. Play action pass from the left-hander. All alone, Sherman Smith. And Smith is out of bounds, but he got the first down at the 42-yard line. Emmett Thomas on the coverage, the 27th catch of the year right here for Sherman Smith.
Good looking play action passing play. Sherman Smith wide open. He goes to the linebacker like he's going to block him and then slips into the flat. That's how you get open on that type of play. And that is an easy pass to throw, an easy one to catch. And when you can gain that many yards, it becomes a big offensive weapon for you.
13 yards on the play in the first down. Sawyer, 81, is back at tight end. Smith and Testerman, 47 and 42 in the backfield. The wide receiver set to the near side. Zorn rolling against the grain. Stops, throws back. All alone downfield. Largent. Touchdown! Largent!
We talked about Kansas City having trouble in their secondary today. Mistake early in the ball game.
57-yard bomb. Jim Zorn to Steve Largent. Largent's 8th touchdown of the season.
Jim Zorn actually rolls away from the throw here, something that's not done very often, and hits Steve Largent just straight up the middle of the field between the seam. Somebody blew that coverage in the Kansas City defensive backfield.
Efren Herrera, who came here from Dallas, had the appendectomy early in the week, out of the hold of Jim Zorn, and it is good. With 9 minutes and 15 seconds left to play, first quarter, Seahawks lead it. Lou Holtz, the Arkansas coach, is going to be mic'd up in that game on Christmas Day. Plan your day to watch UCLA and Arkansas from Tempe, Arizona on NBC. 5 plays, 90 yards, the big bomb, and Leipold kicking off. Payton is the deep man, but coming up to take it is Horace Belton. Belton's over the 30, 35, 40, 45, out to the 50, still going. Belton on a fine return down to the 46-yard line. Horace averaging 23.3 return. This was a 41-yarder. Tackle made by Green.
Horace Belton took the ball instead of Eddie Payton, came straight up the field. Kansas City has done a good job on kickoff returns so far today. Let's hope that they don't have many more times to practice them, though. That's not an area that you really want to exceed in.
You're right there. Along with Ed Podolak, this is Jay Randolph in the Kingdom. 9:03 left to play in the first quarter. The Seahawks lead at 7-0. First down at the 46-yard line, let's call it. Up the middle, Morgado. The gentleman from Hawaii crosses the 40 and gets down to the 39-yard line. Strong safety Autry Beeman picking up the play after a gain of 6. Morgado. What a story. Went to Michigan State, didn't particularly like it. Said, I want to go back to Hawaii and play. And Ed, you and I were talking about this fella. He's a competitor.
Well, he's the kind of guy that the computers overlook, because if you take his height and his weight, he doesn't seem to be much of a ball player, but they can't measure the size of your heart when they look at those computer documents.
He fits into the wing tee nicely. Second down and 3. In motion, McKnight. Give it to McKnight. Trying to get outside. He's got the first down and more at the 30. And down and out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Dave Brown ran him out. Nice move by Ted McKnight out of little Minnesota Duluth. Here's another very fine find. He picked up 14 in the first down.
That was a very exciting run by Ted McKnight. In fact, his move on the sideline got him the extra 10 yards. Terry Beeson, you can see the middle linebacker coming across to fill the off-tackle hole. Ted McKnight bounces the play outside, and that move that he put on Harris right there was magnificent.
Beeson, of course, was all Big 8 at Kansas. You folks in the Kansas City area and Lawrence saw him play. Belton is in there now, and the handoff going to Belton. Belton taking over for McKnight. He gets it inside the 20 and down to the 18-yard line where John Harris, excuse me, that was Reed who carried. John Harris, 44, the free safety on the tackle. We'll try to keep you up to date on Reed's yardage throughout this first half. He needs 68 yards to become a 1,000-yard rusher. It is going to bring up second down and 3. Kansas City has not put the ball in the air yet. They've run 9 plays. They've all been rushes. Second and 3 at the 18-yard line. 7-0 Seahawks. Holding on, quarterback Mike Livingston inside the 15 and down near the 13-yard line before he's pulled back by Cornell Webster, number 38. A reminder, this telecast presented by the authority of the NFL. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Seahawks, and the NFL is prohibited. Coming back into the backfield, Ted McKnight. You'll see him enter, and Belton will come out. Clock running with 7 minutes, 25 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Sellout crowd, 64,752 seats here in the Kingdome in Seattle. Seahawks leading 7-0. First down at the 14. McKnight in motion. Livingston gives it to McKnight. In trouble. Big play by Keith Butler, the rookie. Butler, who played at Memphis State, has about all the defensive records down there, and you can see why at Podolak.
Keith Butler reads this play perfectly. Again, it's that delayed sweep, and Ted McKnight tries to follow Tom Condon, but looked to me like Butler put a move on Tom Condon somewhat the way a running back puts a move on a linebacker sometime, and Tommy couldn't draw any contact.
It's going to bring up second down and 11. Kansas City goes with MacArthur Lane and Dorsey coming in, and the Seahawks go with the extra defensive back, Keith Simpson. The pass underthrown. The first pass thrown today intended for Henry Marshall. Dave Brown on the coverage, and there was pretty good pressure put on Mike Livingston.
There was good pressure, and I was somewhat confused by who Mike was throwing the ball to. It looked like both MacArthur Lane and Henry Marshall were in the same area. Now, whether Henry had trouble getting off the line of scrimmage and was delayed to where it put him right behind a running back, I'm not sure, but it was not a very smooth pass pattern.
Charlie McShane, 59, in as a linebacker. Niehaus has come out. So the Seahawks in a prevent defense. Big play coming. 3rd and 11 at the 15. Livingston throwing complete to Mac Lane. Dropped the ball. He had it, and then it got away from him. Well, you won't see the veteran do that very often. Mac has caught 35 passes prior to today's play, and that's unusual.
I know how angry Mac is with himself right now, and I would not want to be near him when he gets back over that bench after this field goal attempt.
Jan Stenerud having a very fine year, 80 points, 19 out of 29 field goals, 19 out of 26 field goals inside the 49. Tony Adams will hold at the 23. 33-yarder on the way. It is up, and it is good. Jan Stenerud with a 33-yard field goal puts the Chiefs on the board. 6 minutes and 16 seconds left to play first quarter. 7-3 Seattle. Cincinnati playing very good football in recent days. Really put it on Cleveland today. Got some other final scores to report to you. Dallas, an easy victory over the Jets. Roger Staubach didn't play. Philadelphia, big win over the Giants to keep in the playoff picture. New Orleans beat Tampa Bay. And Detroit really did it to the 49ers. A dismal year for San Francisco. Zenon Andrusician will kick off. Al Hunter and Rufus Crawford. The deep man, a very short kick, and it is taken. That is Doug Long, who I think was a little surprised at where the ball was. I was. He caught it over the 25. About a 6-yard return after he took it. The tackle made by Tony Samuels. Well, the AFC wildcard game will come up on Christmas Eve. NFL 78 begins at 3:30 Eastern Time. That's Miami and Houston. The site to be determined. And, of course, we'll be keeping you up to date on that. The divisional playoffs, December 30th at 12 Eastern Time, and Sunday, December 31st at 12:30 Eastern Time, all on NBC. First and 10 at the 29-yard line for the Seahawks. Al Hunter. Hunter getting a good workout here in the early going, picking up 5. Dave Lindstrom, 71, who is now at left end, along with Stan Johnson, 72, at the right end spot. And it was Lindstrom who made the tackle. Howard, 87, is now the tight end for the Seahawks. They're using Sawyer and Howard a good bit, rotating them as they do McCullum and Ferguson quite often. Zorn with that touchdown pass, his 15th of the year to Largent. In motion, that is Sherman Smith. Al Hunter again. Hunter still going. Looks like he might have gotten the first down. Continuous effort, Ed, I like to call that. The tackle made by Stan Johnson, 72. Whitney Paul, 53, also there.
Al Hunter is off to a good start today. For some reason, he has not been able to get his pro career on track.
Had a pretty good rookie year, remember? But
well, yeah, but I think that everyone expected more from him after the great year he had at Notre Dame.
Yep. Remember, NFL 78 and the AFC Championship game will come your way Sunday, January 7th. Who will it be? Got any guesses? And the Super Bowl, January 21st from Miami. Coverage starting at 2 Eastern time. Zorn to throw. Quick out to the far side. Complete. Sam McCullum. McCullum's 35th catch of the year. A gain of about 8 on the play. On the coverage, Gary Green, the left corner, 24. McCullum out of Montana State. 3 touchdowns this year. Zorn started the afternoon with a 55.6 percentage. 6th in the AFC passing race. And Ed Podolak, if Zorn has improved, it is that he doesn't give up the football like he did in his first 2 years.
He has matured. He's a much cooler quarterback than he has been his first 2 years.
2nd and 2 from the 48. Handoff to Al Hunter. There was a little movement in the Kansas City line. Don Parrish, the nose tackle, 61. Gary Spaney, 59, making the tackle. No flag on the play. Referee Bob Frederick indicates first down, Seattle. If you're just joining us, Seattle scored on a 57-yard pass play from that man right there, Jim Zorn, to Steve Largent at 9:15 of the first quarter. And then it was at 6:16 of the first quarter left to play that Jan Stenerud countered with a 33-yard field goal, 7-3 to score here in the Kingdome. Sherman Smith. And you hear Jack Patera saying run, run, run. And Smith ran it over the 45, a pickup of 6 yards. Thomas Howard, 52 on the tackle. There is Gary Spaney, the young linebacker in the middle.
And the Kansas City staff is real happy with the kind of football this kid's playing. There you can see him take on a big offensive guard. You've got to expect to lose that battle when you're a linebacker, but he filled the hole well and made the tackle on Sherman Smith.
Spaney out of Kansas State. Beeson, the middle linebacker for Seattle, out of Kansas. Handoff going to Sherman Smith. Smith is near the 41-yard line. Thomas Howard, 52, and Dave Lindstrom, 71, coming up to make the play. Seattle started the day 2nd on offense in the AFC, 7th in rushing, 2nd in passing. Sherman Smith with 19 yards.
Seattle has a fine group of skilled people. Their wide receivers, Sherman Smith, Al Hunter's off to a good start today. Don Testerman's a good player. David Sims will not play today, and I think he's one of the exciting young players in the National Football League. He leads the American Conference in touchdowns scored. He runs hard. He accelerates well.
And Sims is out with a knee. This is the 4th game he's missed. It is 3rd down and 2. Seattle with a double tight end situation. Bullard along with Sawyer in there. And going forward is Hunter, and I'm going to guess that he's got it. Spaney, the middle linebacker, came up to close on him very quickly there. 71 Lindstrom. Getting up off the pile, 72 Stan Johnson. First down.
You know, our viewers will probably hear us use the word young a lot of times today, and I guess we could say fresh maybe, but we have to use that to describe these two teams because they are packed with 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year players.
I think we can use it now that you're retired.
Yeah, I like to use it.
1st and 10 at the 38-yard line, 2.5 minutes to play, first quarter. Zorn using a long count. Good protection now. It breaks down. Zorn scrambling and throwing, and nobody there. Well, he threw it away, and wisely so. Ron Howard, the tight end, was in the area, if you want to call it that.
You can sure see the advantage of having a scrambling quarterback in that situation. He saved a 10-yard sack, bought himself just enough time for one of his receivers to come back so he could throw the ball in the general area, save grounding the ball, and save the sack. Now, see, we talked about him maturing. That was a cool play by a young quarterback, and there's Young again.
John Sawyer, number 81, back in at tight end to replace Ron Howard. Seahawks leading 7-3. 2nd and 10 at the Kansas City 38. A little delay and a fumble. Al Hunter fumbling, and the pileup is at the 39-yard line. And it looks like Hunter may have gotten it back. He did. He recovered his own fumble. Got good speed, Al Hunter. They say 9.3. You have to question that, but he is quick. And that time he just got off the blocks too quick to get the ball. The problem between Hunter and Zorn. It's going to bring up 3rd down and 11. Turnovers this year for these two clubs. Seahawks lead in that department. They also lead in wins. They are 8-7. Kansas City 4-11 starting this final game. Now you got 3 wide receivers, McCullum, Ferguson, and Largent in there on 3rd and 11. Zorn, penalty marker goes down, might be holding, and Zorn had to throw it away. Very good coverage by the Kansas City secondary, as they had Ferguson 89, McCullum 84, and Largent 80 all in there. And Zorn wasn't able to put it on consignment to any of them, and we'll see about the call.
Also, a lot of good pressure applied by Kansas City's defensive line. With only 3 people rushing, let's listen to the call here.
Offensive holding, number 47, refused. 4th down.
The call was against Sherman Smith, Ed.
But as I was saying, with only 3 people rushing in a normal situation, it's going to be very tough to contain Jim Zorn. So I expect Kansas City will use a lot of blitzing this afternoon, trying to get a 4th man in the rush.
There's old Thunderfoot, Herman Weaver. 37.1 average. One of the areas the Seahawks would like to improve on probably is their punting for 1979. Weaver, sky high. And it is coming down and out of bounds. They will mark it at the 14-yard line, where Kansas City will take over. 1 minute and 17 seconds remaining in the first quarter after that 25-yard punt. The score 7-3 Seahawks. Marv Levy, his first coaching job, the B team at St. Louis Country Day, a Phi Beta Kappa from Little Co College in Cedar Rapids, native of Chicago, Illinois. Number 39 in the backfield, Mark Bailey out of Cal State Long Beach now, working with Reed and McKnight. 1st and 10 from the 14-yard line. Up the middle, Mark Bailey, and Bailey is out over the 30-yard line where Autry Beeman made the play. Bailey blocks well. Ed, you think he can run the ball pretty well, too. He hasn't played a great deal this year. 16-yard gainer.
He has magnificent potential, Jay. He's got to learn a little bit more about the football game. Basically, I think he's got to be more aggressive. He's big and strong, and I just like to borrow his body for one weekend, name the all-opponent team, and collect for some of those forearms I took in the face when I played.
That's your wish. Well, Bailey was one of the fellows with 100 yards this year, along with Mac Lane. Reed is hit. And hit by Terry Beeson. Beeson, all rookie. I know you folks in the Coffeyville area are mighty proud of Terry Beeson, number 58.
Great play by Terry Beeson. The misdirection in the backfield was to keep him out of the play. He read it perfectly, and when a middle linebacker gets to the off-tackle spot like he did there, there's nothing you can do as a running back because he has a perfect angle on you.
A new center for the Chiefs, Charlie Ane, 56. Rudney, 58, has been bothered by a shoulder injury and playing hurt, is out of there. And the gun sounds before they can get the play away on 2nd down and 10. And we'll be back with second quarter action of today's play from the Silverdome in Seattle. All right, we're back in the Kingdome, not the Silverdome. I've been in so many domes lately, I'm not sure where I am. They're working on Rudney.
Well, he's had a little trouble with one of his calves, he told me last night, and it appears that that's what they're looking at right there.
2nd down and 10 from the 31 as we go to the second quarter. Over the middle, incomplete. Going for Walter White. Throw was pretty good. White couldn't hold on. The coverage by the right linebacker, 53, Keith Butler. There's quarterback Mike Livingston. I knew him when he played at SMU in Dallas. He's 0 for 3 this afternoon. Starts the day with a 55% passing record. He's been often maligned. 56.8 actually, better than a 55% starting today.
Unfairly maligned also. He's one of the great quarterbacks in this business as far as knowing the game and executing it when the time comes.
Livingston calls his own plays. 3rd and 10 from the 31. And it is complete. That's Dorsey.
All right.
Dorsey turns it in and comes up over midfield. And he is out of bounds right at the 50-yard line. Cornell Webster ran him out over there. They went to the pro set for Dorsey. That is his 9th catch of the year. He's averaging nearly 19 yards a catch, and that's what he picked up on that one.
And I like to see that, Jay. Kansas City is opening the game up a little bit with that type of a pass. The problem with the wing tee is you try to gain 3 to 8 or 9 yards every time that you run the ball, and it's very difficult to travel 70 or 80 yards, score a touchdown, without making a mistake, like a penalty, an interception, or a fumble. You've got to have a big play like that last.
Second down, or first down and 10 from the midfield stripe. Play action pass on first down. Livingston in a little trouble now, gets it away. And it is complete just about back to the line of scrimmage over there to Ted McKnight. John Harris, the free safety, came up to make the tackle, number 44. McKnight, only his 14th catch of the year.
And Mike was trying to go downfield to Henry Marshall on the same type of play, and Cornell Webster had him covered very well. And there you see.
Rudney will probably not be back today. A torn muscle in his left leg. The 9-year veteran from Northwestern and a real player.
And, you know, I guess it was coming. He said it had been really bothering him the last 2 days.
Breaking out of there is Reed. Reed is across the 40, cuts it outside at the 35, at the 30, and out of bounds at the 29-yard line. Cornell Webster ran him out. Just a splendid performance by Tony Reed out of the University of Colorado.
This is some kind of delayed draw play that Tony Reed breaks into a magnificent play. Look at him, breaks 1 tackle, 2, 3, and now watch these moves. He's as good as there is in the open field. 4, now he stops on a dime and looks for more yardage inside. 5 people to get him down.
41 yards for Tony Reed in 7 rushes. That was a 21-yard pickup. He's out of there now. We've got Belton, Bailey, and McKnight. First and 10 at the 29-yard line. Again, a play-action pass on first down. Livingston throws too high. Mark Bailey, the intended receiver, was there. Livingston under a little pressure, a bit too tall. Niehaus, 71, and Gregory, 77, were on their way toward Livingston. Oakland 21, Minnesota nothing. Fran Tarkington and his club need a victory in that ball game if they're going to get to the playoffs. Stabler to Biletnikoff, Phillips with a recovered fumble, and Mark Van Egan with a touchdown. 21-0, a shocker out in Oakland.
And if there has been a mystery team this year, it's been the Oakland Raiders. It's not the first shocking score I've seen on them this year. Most of the time they were behind.
The mystery, I think, has been the inconsistency of Stabler. Second and 10 at the 29. Pass complete to the tight end, Tony Samuels. Pulled out of bounds by Green, 56, the linebacker over there. Samuels coming in today had caught 5 passes for better than a 19-yard average. He doesn't catch as many as Walter White. Henry Marshall will come back into the lineup now, and Samuels will come off. We have 13 minutes and 44 seconds to play in the first half. The Seahawks are leading 7-3. It was a 57-yard bomb, Zorn to Largent. 9:15 left in the first quarter. And then a 33-yard field goal by Stenerud at 6:16 in the first quarter. That's been the scoring. They go to the prevent defense, do the Seahawks. 3rd and 10 for Kansas City. Livingston's got all day. Throws over the middle, intercepted. Coming back is John Harris. Harris coming up with it. Penalty marker down for Harris. If it stands, that'll be his 4th interception of the season.
I think that has got to be pass interference on the part of Seattle. It looked to me, no, it's holding on Kansas City. Boy, it looked to me like Walter White was coming across the middle, and you can see Walter arguing right there to where that ball was thrown, and all of a sudden he stopped. And people don't change direction that erratically unless they're bumped or held.
Harris has done a splendid job. His 4th interception. He made the all-rookie teams.
And now they're changing it.
Holding, number 73, refused.
Yep.
First down.
Well, I'm wrong again.
The call against number 73, Bob Simmons. 13:30 left in the first half. Mr. Podolak, you might have been right on this last play.
Walter White was hot after that play, and with good reason. Now watch Harris as Walter tries to clear by the pick. Is that called holding? Would you say that is defensive holding?
Looks like it to me. First and 10 at the 15-yard line for Seattle, leading 7-3 here in the first half. Smith. About 3 yards. Gary Spaney, 59. Don Parrish, 61, making the stop. You know, we've talked about this Seattle club with a chance to win number 9 today and be the first third-year expansion team. There's their coach, Jack Patera, to win 9. Great tribute to the Seattle fans, the fans of the great Northwest. This is their 6th consecutive sellout today. They played to 97% capacity. They come from Alaska, from Portland, from Tacoma, from all over up here. 2nd and 5 from the 20. Out it comes. That's Largent. First down. Fine catch. Gary Green on the coverage. Pickup of 9.
Steve Largent in motion across the field. That means the cornerback has got to come with him. They clear out with McCullum, and Largent runs a little square out. That's a pretty play, easily completed, and it's a first down.
The leading wide receiver in catches in the National Football League, and you got a good view of why right there. McCullum coming to the near side. Largent set in the slot. 1st and 10 from the 29-yard line. That's Largent in motion. Second man through. Sherman Smith out of the eye. Smith spun out of bounds at the 36-yard line by Gary Green. Sherman Smith, 537 yards and 76, 763 yards and 77, and started today with 738. He picked up 7 there.
I like Sherman Smith as a running back. He's an ex-quarterback, so he has learned the game.
I wonder why you like him. You're an ex-quarterback,
I think there's an advantage to having played the quarterback position because you understand more about defenses. You know what problems a quarterback has in trying to get you the ball in passing situations. I think it just makes you know more about the game and makes you a better player.
2nd down and 2. That's Testerman, and I don't think he got the first down. No, he didn't. It was Dave Rozamek, 55, making the stop. Jimbo Elrod is in there now at the right outside linebacker spot, number 54. Elrod has played very sparingly and been rather unhappy about it. He has done a good job on the specialty units, but hasn't played nearly as much as he wanted. San Diego and Houston. 7-7 second quarter. Now we've got Lewis Bullard, 72, in the lineup for the Seahawks. They'll go with Sawyer and Bullard in the double tight end set. L.A. over Green Bay in the early going. Hunter and Smith in the backfield. That's Sherman Smith. Penalty marker down. Or excuse me, Al Hunter. Hunter has got the first down, but a penalty marker, Gary Spaney, 59, on the tackle. Now we'll talk it over. You know, you're talking about being a quarterback and how it can be helpful to you. I guess you're hopeful that your new football coach at Iowa, Hayden Fry, who was at SMU and later at North Texas, will be helpful to your old school.
Well, I tell you, that is really an assignment I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. They seem to have, seems to be the end of a lot of coaches' careers up there at Iowa, and I hope Hayden can turn the program around. But boy, they've had a tough time the last 15 years.
Indication offside and face mask. Face masking. Might have been Spaney, number 59. We've got 11:57 to play in this first half. Seahawks leading at 7-3. Bob Frederick will give us the word.
Defense, offside, refuse. Face mask on the defense at the end of the run. First down.
They refuse the penalty. First down at the 46-yard line. Only 5 yards. Oh, they didn't call it a flagrant foul.
Yeah, they have their choice.
They have their choice. Pass complete to Sam McCullum. Now he loses the ball. It is picked up. And what are they going to call it? They're going to call it a complete pass, and the ball was dead at the 33-yard line where the Seahawks will have it. A 21-yard pass play. One of the Seahawks shaken up.
I think it's McCullum. He took a heck of a shot from the inside on this play, and Jim Zorn throws a quick post with a lot of touch over the linebackers. There you see the ball go over the linebackers in front of the defensive secondary. All the great quarterbacks can do that with great ease.
Timeout. 11:48 to play in the first half. They allowed the pass on that last catch to Sam McCullum. He's caught 2 for 29 yards, being attended to over there. Steve Rabel, number 83, in the game now as a wide receiver with Largent. 1st and 10 at the 33-yard line of Kansas City. Sherman Smith on the move, and look out. Woo, he was clotheslined by Gary Green. Some of the fans thought there might have been a flagrant call right there, but no flag.
Well, defensive players are not supposed to be allowed to hit an offensive player above the shoulder pads with first contact from his arm. It appeared that there was reason for protest from the local fans.
Zorn is 5 out of 7 passing for 108 yards as you look at Baylor's Gary Green. He's been bothered a little bit with a shoulder injury. Number 1 draft choice back in '77. 2nd down and 11 at the 34-yard line. McCullum is back in the lineup, and Zorn is going upstairs. And he throws, and it is almost intercepted. He was going for McCullum, and Emmett Thomas almost picked it away. Good coverage by Emmett.
What a great career Emmett Thomas has had. During my career with the Chiefs, he was one of the people I respected the most. He worked the hardest in practice. He has great physical skills. He's the kind of player you want to build a football team around. Here you can see he has perfect inside-out position. He read the square out with perfect timing and almost had himself an interception.
58 career interceptions.
That's a ton, isn't it?
3rd and 11. 3 wide receivers in there for Zorn to throw to. And he goes out of the backfield to Smith. Smith's at the 20. Down to the 15-yard line. Zorn, with the 3 wide receivers in there, opted for the short pass to Smith coming out of the backfield instead of going to one of his wide receivers. Barbaro on the tackle. 20-yard pickup, 1st down.
Simple little smart delay pattern to Sherman Smith. They'd cleared out with the wide receivers. Kansas City's secondary had been taken across the field, and Gary Barbaro has to make a touchdown-saving tackle on the 15-yard line.
Dynamite call for the Seahawks. 10 and a half minutes to play. Marv Levy looking on. 7-3 Seahawks. Zorn hands it off to Smith, and he goes down, maybe a gain of a yard or 2. Jeff Lloyd, 74, who's now playing the nose tackle for Don Parrish, making the stop. He's out of West Texas State.
You know, Jay, I've noticed that Kansas City is playing a lot of man-to-man defense in their secondary today, and it's probably because they have a young player starting at strong safety, and it's easier for him to identify receivers in that type of coverage. But they're going to get hurt on delays like that last play and on motion plays with Largent. We'll see Largent in motion a lot today.
2nd down and 8. Al Hunter on a delay, breaking through at the 5, and he is at the 1.
And we got to see 9.3 speed there.
He is that fast, isn't he? Jimbo Elrod on the tackle. Look at this.
This is actually a form of a Statue of Liberty play. They set it up first so it looks like a pass. He was supposed to go outside, but saw a seam inside and just ripped through the Kansas City secondary. He exploded through there. He has now convinced me he did run 9.3 at one time in his life.
Big Bob Newton, 78, had a lot to do with that one, the former All-American from Nebraska. He kind of set the scene for that seam for Hunter to run through. It is 1st and goal to go at the 1-yard line. Penalty marker is down. Hunter is in. The penalty being interpreted. There is referee Bob Frederick.
Penalty flag dropped in error. Touchdown.
Touchdown. Penalty flag dropped in error. So it is a touchdown for Al Hunter and the Seattle Seahawks.
And you can do that when it's in the favor of the hometown team. It's very difficult to drop a penalty in error on the visiting team. Here you can see Hunter just with a little misdirection play, which is good down by the goal line to get the middle linebacker moving the wrong direction. Good line surge by Seattle's offensive line.
Efren Herrera will attempt the point after. Out of the hospital and making headlines again here in Seattle. Zorn holding. It is blocked. The kick is blocked.
He was a little slow getting to the ball. You could see he was hurt.
It looked like Kansas City's Art Still. Timeout. 8:56 left to go in the first half. Seahawks 13, Chiefs 3. Michigan's third trip to the Rose Bowl, and can they win it? Well, the granddaddy of them all from Pasadena New Year's Day. Leipold with a low bouncing kick. Who's going to come up with it? It looks like Ed Beckman, and that's who it is. And Beckman, a fine return all the way down to the 38-yard line, where number 23, Doug Long, made the tackle. A 34-yard return for Beckman.
Ed Beckman just runs right over one of Seattle's cover people here. See if we can see who it is. But he puts that hip right on his shoulder. Looked like Harris. No, it's Rabel, Steve Rabel. Picks up another 15 yards. That's what I always dreamed about doing, and I saw Jimmy Brown do it so many times.
1st and 10 at the 39-yard line. Up the middle, the handoff to Mark Bailey. Bailey is hit by Sam Green, 56, Terry Beeson, 58, the left and middle linebackers. Took them 12 plays. They went 85 yards in 4:38 and lead it 13-3. The Chiefs now with an opportunity to get back into it, operating 2nd and 8 at the Seattle 37-yard line. 8 minutes and 15 seconds left to go in the first half. Livingston going to throw. In trouble. Running out of there. Got it back to about the original line of scrimmage. Lost 2. Keith Butler on the tackle, number 53. Kansas City ranks 10th in offense, 2nd in rushing in the AFC, and 14th in passing. They're averaging 4.4 per rush. Jim Zorn on the phones, talking it over upstairs, probably with Jerry Rome. Might be checking in with the LA Rams to see when the next check is coming, huh? 3rd and 11 at the 40. Livingston in trouble again, and he's down back at the 49-yard line. Keith Simpson, an extra defensive back, coming over, blitzing on the play.
Well, this is where Kansas City is hurting. They can't line up and throw the ball. They just don't work on it enough. They get a safety blitz. Keith Simpson, who is in as the 5th defensive back because they know Kansas City's going to pass, crosses up Mike with a safety blitz. It's a big play for Seattle.
That was the big hand of Mr. Gregory, number 77, coming down on him there, too. Zenon Andrusician, who came from Canada to do the punting for Marv Levy, gets it away. A line drive kick. Rufus Crawford at the 15, at the 20, and out of bounds at the 24-yard line. It was Charlie Ane who made the stop. And when we come back, the Seahawks will have it after a 41-yard punt and a 14-yard return. We'll let you look at that talented young lady as we pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
You're watching the Seahawks on KING-TV Seattle.
With Ed Podolak, this is Jay Randolph. Here in Seattle, the Kingdome, 13-3 Seahawks. 7:12 to play the first half. Seattle with a football, 1st and 10 from their own 24-yard line. Zorn on 1st down, coming to the near sideline, completing it to Sam McCullum. McCullum shaken up earlier, back out there playing well now. Gary Green on the coverage, a pickup of 9. And a time called. They may want to bring the chains in and look. I think he's a little short of the 1st down hit.
Well, that's smart football again. Steve Zorn has done that a number of times today with the quick square out on 1st down. You always pick up 7, 8, 9, 10 yards. You put your offense in a good situation.
Why did you call him Steve Zorn?
You know, I have a tendency. I keep calling him Steve Zorn to myself.
Did you go to school with a Steve Zorn?
I'm trying to figure out where that came from.
7 minutes to play.
He may call me Bill Podolak, too.
2nd down and 1. Al Hunter First down at the 36-yard line. May have got the 37. Don Parrish, 61 on the tackle in under the pile, along with 71 Dave Lindstrom. 61 Don Parrish. Parrish, as we mentioned early in the broadcast, having a very good year.
He plays an important spot in that Kansas City defense. That nose tackle has got to be able to cover both to his left and his right when you play with only 3 defensive linemen.
Hunter playing a lot today. 11 rushes for 45 yards and 1 touchdown. Zorn again on first down, wants to throw. Pass thrown behind the intended receiver, Sherman Smith, who tried to pirouette up and hold on, but Emmitt Thomas was right there with him.
We've got a shot here of Don Parrish, and you can see what happens in the middle of that defensive line. You get double teamed when you're the man on the nose in almost every situation. You can waste a lot of energy and not get very far, but you have to plug up that hole. Curly Culp, who used to be with the Kansas City Chiefs, who's now with the Houston Oilers, is the best at doing that very thing.
You're right there. 2nd and 10 at the 36-yard line. Sherman Smith at the 40, and down he goes. It was Dave Lindstrom, 71, there to make the play, along with Don Parrish again, 61. Seahawks have played 43 regular season NFL games in their 3-year history. Led by Zorn, they have averaged 182 yards a game passing in 43 games. As you look at what the Cardinals are doing to Atlanta. Atlanta backed into a wild card spot yesterday when Washington was defeated by Chicago. Jim Hart, Pat Tilley, Al Chandler having a big day. Houston has the lead now over San Diego, 10-7. 3rd and 6 coming for Seattle. Zorn's got time, throws, and incomplete. At the 48-yard line, pass was intended for Sherman Smith. Jimbo Elrod on the coverage. Elrod, 54, playing today at that right outside spot. In those same 43 games we were talking about, Ed, their defense has allowed 182 yards a game passing. Now that's even up. However, the Seahawks offense is slightly ahead of total yards over that period. Going to have a punt coming from Herman Weaver, the 9-year veteran from Tennessee. Penalty marker down. He hangs it high to the far sideline. Payton at the 20. Payton to the 25 and out of bounds there. I want to say again that we were all, of course, saddened by the untimely death of Ed and Walter Payton's dad earlier this week in Columbia, Mississippi, an apparent heart attack. Bob Frederick discussing the penalty marker. At 5:22 to play in this first half. It's 13-3 Seahawks. Gregory pointing to Frederick or that was Dennis Boyd, 68, pointing to him to take it back. Take the penalty and go for it. They just might.
Defense, number 24, offside.
Gary Green, the corner, was offside on the play. That shouldn't happen, Ed.
Not in a punting situation like that. And to me, it's surprising, but they're going for it on 4th down in their own territory with the lead they have.
5:22 to play. They put Lewis Bullard, the rookie, the extra tight end, in there with Sawyer. And it is Al Hunter.
Look out. There's 9-3.
And it is all the way. Well, how often you will see that happen. Goal line defense. They need half a yard. And Al Hunter scooted through. There was nothing left. 55-yard touchdown.
You're exactly right, Jay. Many, many times in my career, I've seen this happen. The defense comes up to stop a running back for less than a yard gain. Once he bursts through the defensive line, he's gone. He's in the secondary. And we talked about him being able to run 9.3. Look out, Gary Barbaro doesn't stand a chance.
And he's got 100 yards on 12 rushes now.
And now you can see how expensive Gary Green being offside has been to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Here's Herrera again. Zorn will hold. Well, that one kind of changed things around. The penalty, they went for it. 55-yard romp. Al Hunter, 5 minutes and 12 seconds left to play in this first half. And the Seattle Seahawks now lead the Chiefs 20-3. Quite a run it was, quite a call.
It's the call. You have to go back to the gutsy call. You're in your own territory. It's 4th down and a half of a yard. You're already ahead by, the score of 13-3. One would think you'd want to kick the ball away and wait for Kansas City to make a mistake, but Jack Patera, in a gutsy way, went for the first down and got a touchdown.
A very big play in this football game. Remember, there's going to be big viewing excitement for you in NBC Premier Sports World, Sunday, January 14th. Major sports action from around the globe. Wembley Invitational Gymnastics from England. The Muhammad Ali Invitational Track and Field Championships. A recap of the NFL season. And the World Belly Flop and Cannonball Championships. I did not participate this year, but believe me, that is a dynamite feature. You'll see it all on Sports World. Leipold again, a low bouncing kick. And it is finally lateral back to Payton, who is at the 39-yard line before he goes down. Peter Cronin, 57 on the tackle on Eddie Payton. I wasn't able to see who shoveled that back to him. 14-yard return. We're going to show you Hunter again.
It's another look at how a simple little 4th down play can turn into a game breaker. And Al Hunter has certainly gotten my attention here today. I mentioned earlier he's had a tough time getting his pro career untracked, but there's a good way to do it right there.
Ed, we had not expected to see Hunter this much. We were told that Testerman would start and play more, but it has been Hunter. And now Livingston going to the air and throwing, and incomplete as he tried to get it to Mac Lane. The ball hit Mac on the hip as he wasn't quite ready. Autry Beeman on the coverage. San Diego goes on top of Houston. Fouts to Dwight McDonald, 37-yarder. 4:43 left in the second quarter. The Chargers lead the Oilers.
And now Kansas City really finds themselves in a hole. They lined up that time in their pro set. We can probably expect them to stay in the pro set the rest of this half and maybe use it most of the second half, and that's just not what they're best at doing. They're best at running the ball, but they're not going to get back in this game with the wing team.
Livingston's 3 of 9 for 19 yards. He's going for Marshall. He's got it at the 20-yard line. Dave Brown on the tackle. Henry Marshall, the speed burner from Missouri. That makes him 4 out of 10.
Henry Marshall is a quality wide receiver. He runs a post flag here, which means he fakes toward the post, then runs to the corner. Mike Livingston with the ball on the money. Henry Marshall makes a big gain, and I think something that we forget is that Kansas City was 3rd in the conference in passing just 2 years ago. But they have good offensive weapons when it comes to their passing game, and they haven't used them very much this year.
A 40-yard pickup for Marshall, his 26th catch of the year. 1st and 10 at the 21. Chiefs need a touchdown. Reed gets hit. Dennis Boyd, number 68. Boyd, who played at Oregon State. And he is some performer. Fine athlete.
Well, they made a great play there, Jay, and that was Tony Reed on an underneath sweep handoff, something he's very effective with. And Dennis Boyd spoiled it before it got started.
On a wing and a prayer. Well, the Seahawks have done it on a little more than that.
And I'll talk about what I think their formula for success has been a little later, Jay.
2nd down, 11 at the 22. Livingston straight back. They're blitzing. He got it away, and it is incomplete. And is it intercepted? It is. Intercepted by Keith Simpson, the extra defensive back. What a play coming on a safety blitz. Livingston got it away. It looked like a perfect throw to Walter White, but look what Keith Simpson does.
There's Autry Beeman, 27, on the safety blitz. He hits Livingston, but he got the ball away, and Walter White can't let that happen. A tight end has got to win the battle for the football with a defensive back.
Simpson's had 1 sack and 1 interception, and the Seahawks have it back just when it looked like the Chiefs might be able to get something going. 3 minutes and 24 seconds remaining to be played in this first half. It's 20-3 Seattle. Jim Zorn on first down. Now at the 5, at the 10. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Zorn out of bounds, run out by Gary Green at about the 9-yard line. Jim Zorn, he played at Little Cal Poly, Pomona. A little All-American. A young man who was in the Dallas camp, and later we find in the LA camp. And he came here, and he has made some magic, Ed.
And we talked about their formula for the success they've reached, and Jim Zorn is the key to that. They got Jim Zorn for nothing. Take Tampa Bay. They've wasted a number of high draft choices looking for quarterbacks and still haven't found, I think, the person they want. So obviously that's one of the keys to the improvement of the Seattle franchise.
A delay, and Hunter goes down quickly as he was pulled down by Art Still. Still making a fine play, sticking out his meat hook there and clipping him.
Art Still, as we mentioned earlier, has improved tremendously, and he just runs right through the offensive tackle and makes a great play on Al Hunter in the backfield. Still has tremendous strength for his size, although he's a good-sized athlete, but I think they're more impressed with his strength than anything else.
It's going to be 3rd down and 11. Clock running with 2:40 to play. We're in the first half at Seattle. Zorn steps up and throws up the middle and overthrows, intercepted. Back with it is Gary Barbaro. Barbaro at the 5, and he is at the 1. There is a penalty marker down. Barbaro, if allowed, it'll be his 3rd interception of the season. A 30-yard return, 1 shy of what would have been a touchdown. We'll check in with Bob Frederick now and see if we can get an indication on the penalty marker that you see right there at the right of your screen.
The interceptor was number 26, Gary Barbaro.
Offensive holding, 76, refused.
Holding against Steve August, number 76 of the Seahawks. It's refused, and Kansas City will have it.
Steve August is the fellow that Art Still just ran over on the last play, so I guess he decided to hold him to slow him down a little bit. But you can see Jim Zorn overthrew his intended receiver by a good 10 yards. Gary Barbaro, who was playing center field, which is what the free safety does in a number of occasions, was in the right place at the right time.
Well, now, can the Chiefs get it in? There is Barbaro playing with a hip pointer, just coming up with a big play. Morgado comes up short.
Boy, that was some kind of a collision between
They were hitting in
Terry
there.
Beeson.
Terry Beeson. Cronin also in there.
Terry Beeson, as you see in the middle of your screen, number 58, hits Arnold Morgado right at the line of scrimmage and stops his forward progress. Now the linebackers in goal line situations try to line up as deep as the running backs, run to the hole right with the running back and meet him just as he gets there. Perfect execution by Terry Beeson.
2-minute warning going to be given, and both benches will be notified. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, the Chiefs will be trying to get in. 20-3 Seattle. Jay Randolph and Ed Podolak, the Kingdome in Seattle. The Seahawks leading at 20-3. Kansas City knocking on the door after the interception by Barbaro. Quite a few times, Ed, this season, Kansas City's had the opportunity to go in, like last week in Denver when Reed fumbled at the 4. Reed another fumble at the 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. You don't want to cough up the ball right now, because certainly if the Chiefs can get the touchdown and go in 20-10, they still have got a lot of things going for them.
Well, I would think in this situation you'd want to go to one of your bigger backs. Tony Reed has had trouble controlling the football this year. That's why I'd give the ball back to Arnold Morgado, I think, on this play.
And it is Morgado for the touchdown. Arnold coming through, and that is his 7th touchdown of the season. A very happy Hawaiian right there.
Boy, he's some kind of player, too. We talked earlier about his heart. If you could take his heart and chop it up and give a little bit to a number of players on this team, they'd be one heck of a football team. You see him get off the ball in a hurry, and down at the goal line, if you see that kind of seam, dive, jump, spin, do anything you can to get into the end zone. That was good line surge by our offensive line. He could have fallen in.
Stenerud puts it up, and it is good.
See, that shows you what I think of Kansas City's line. I called it our offensive line. I used to take good care of those fellows when they took care of me.
I don't blame you a bit. 20-10, Seattle.
It's still available to souvenir stands around the Kingo. Taking home one of your leisure time reading, and as a souvenir of the last game of the 78 season.
NBC Sports, of course, is looking forward to the 1980 games in Moscow. We're looking forward to Sports World coming back your way. Great golf coverage. I'm looking forward to Big 8 basketball over many of these stations in the Middle West. And all in all, you'll enjoy the sports from around the world on NBC. Andrusician, a short kick, and it is Hunter. What a day he's having. Gets it across the 30, out at the 32-yard line. Number 50, Charlie Sanders for the Chiefs on the play. San Diego now has gone 21-10 ahead of Houston as Don Woods has scored from 3 yards out. They have 2 minutes left to play in the second period, and it's 21-10 San Diego. Coming up at halftime, NFL 78. Bring you up to date on the scores on this important day, the final regular season of the first 16-game schedule NFL season. First and 10 from the 34. Zorn again using that little Statue of Liberty type situation to Hunter. And Hunter rolled out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Art Still coming over in pursuit. Clock stopped with 1:46 to play, a pickup of 6.
And I hope Al Hunter had an extra bowl of oatmeal this morning, because he's burning up a lot of energy out there today, isn't he?
He's asking to go out. You could see him say, how about a little rest, folks? And number 42, Don Testerman, comes in. You Seattle fans are very aware, of course, that David Sims is not playing, missing his 4th game. A number 7 draft pick in '77, a remarkable find. 15 touchdowns on the year for him. 2nd and 4 at the 40. 3 wide receivers in there. The ball batted down and almost coming up with the interception. Whitney Paul. Whitney, 2 years as a defensive end out of University of Colorado.
Whitney was actually a defensive end last year, so when he moves to this linebacker spot, when he comes on a blitz like he did here, it's very difficult for an offensive back to block him. He's used to rushing against offensive linemen, and I know from my playing days, when you were a back and assigned blocking someone like that, you did a lot of praying the day before the game and counted a lot of worms a lot of times during the game as they had you flat on your stomach.
It's your best to keep your head down, isn't it? 3rd and 4 at the 40-yard line. Zorn on a designed run, got the first down. That was a designed play, I believe. It looked like it to me. Dave Rozumek made the tackle, but Zorn faded back to pass and then went right up front, got 6.
And he's back under the center with his hurry-up offense.
Clock running with 1:20 to play in this first half. Zorn goes to the far sideline, complete over there to Testerman. Testerman stepping out of bounds near the 48-yard line, a pickup of 6. Jimbo Elrod on the coverage. I'm going to check downstairs at halftime and see if there is any injury to Thomas Howard, the right outside linebacker. Elrod playing here in this first half great deal of the time there.
Well, I think the coaches indicated to me prior to the game today that they were going to look at a lot of their second position players to get more experience.
Why not?
I think
right?
Jimbo Elrod is one of the people they're trying to find a position for on this defense.
2nd and 4 at the 48-yard line. Zorn's in trouble, and that is the first time that he has gone down this afternoon. Art Still leading the way. Whitney Paul. Hicks was there. A loss of about 10 on the play. That is the 43rd sack against Zorn this season.
And Steve August is certainly having his trouble with Art Still. Art Still has been very impressive so far this afternoon.
I'll tell you one thing, a lot of people have trouble with Mr. Still when he makes up his mind what he wants to do.
In fact, we're going to get a look at it right here. Art Still, the left end, 67, goes inside on Steve August. He was hardly slowed down. Gets to Jim Zorn in a hurry. Jim Zorn hardly had a chance to set his back foot.
Seattle uses a timeout. They have 2 remaining. We talked about the Big 8 basketball and becoming your way in the Middle West over many of the stations you're watching. College basketball comes your way on Saturday, December 30th. 11:30 Eastern Time. That is p.m. incidentally. 11:30 in the evening Eastern Time. Notre Dame and Kentucky. Indiana got Kentucky yesterday 68-67. Kansas lost a toughie to Kentucky by 1 point earlier. Notre Dame, of course, with a big win early this season over UCLA. Notre Dame with the likes of talented Kelly Tripucka. And Kentucky, Kyle Macy. What a great little guard. I look forward to that one. The baskets coming your way on NBC. Right here in Seattle's beautiful Kingdome. 20-10 Seahawks. 1:11 left to go in the first half. Recap the scoring for you. 9:15 of the first quarter. Zorn to Largent, 57 yards, 7-0. Then it was a 33-yard field goal by Stenerud to make it 7-3. Hunter a 1-yard run, 13-3 Seattle. 8:56 of the second. Hunter a 55-yard run to make it 20-3, and then Morgado a 1-yard run to get back in the ball game. The pass intended for McCullum. He was out of bounds when he got to the football. Good coverage by Gary Green. Morgado scoring with 1:58 left here in the second quarter. 20-10 the Seahawks. Herman Weaver will have to come on and give up the ball. Chiefs still have 3 timeouts remaining.
We'll have another look at Kansas City's hurry-up offense, and they've been fairly effective this season in the last 2 minutes of the half in the game. Mike Livingston's put together some good drives. They're going to be taking the ball over, though, deep in their own territory.
Barbaro coming up with that big interception here. Chiefs had 9 interceptions in their last 3 games. Weaver only punt 25 yards so far. He gets this one away. Payton is coming up to take it at the 18. Got running room. Comes out to the 25, 30, and steps through at the 35, breaks away, and is up over the 42-yard line. A fine return by little Eddie Payton. Dennis Boyd, 68 on the tackle.
It's a good job here by Eddie Payton. It looked like Seattle was a little lax in their coverage, and right now he's outside. We can't see it on our monitor, and he's waiting on some blocks downfield. He puts a good move on Howard here, and Terry Beeson, he's away from Beeson. Excellent effort by Eddie Payton.
40-yard punt, 24-yard return. 1st and 10 at the 42. 50 seconds left to play in the first half. Livingston straight back over the middle, goes to Mac Lane. Mac is hit immediately at the 47-yard line by Keith Butler, the rookie. Pickup of about 5 yards, and the Chiefs call a timeout. They have 2 remaining. Clock stopped with 43 seconds left to go in this first half. Coming up at halftime, NFL 78 will update you on the activities in the National Football League. There's Marv Levy talking things over. Joe Spencer alongside there. Coach Levy, 50 years old, and a man who coached up in Canada 5 years, had a couple of Grey Cup winners in Montreal. Well, there's quite a record he had there. 50 victories, 34 defeats, and 4 ties while coaching the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, if Mike got that last play from the sideline, I hope they do a better job in the play bag on this trip over. Dumping the ball to your back underneath the coverage in this situation where he can't get out of bounds and you have to waste a timeout, it's tough for me to understand that type of play.
How about the play that Norris Weiss got in that game in Denver yesterday? He didn't like the call, did he?
Looking at that play, I mean, I think that's been the trouble, though, with Denver's offense this year. They've lacked imagination, and Norris was reasonably upset, and rightfully so, when that play came in from the sideline.
Mike Livingston, 5 out of 11, 65 yards passing, facing 2nd and 4 at the 48 with 43 seconds remaining in this first half. Down he goes, and it was Peter Cronin, who is the fourth linebacker and comes in there. The young man from Boston College, a #2 draft pick in '77.
And you could see Mike was hot because someone missed the blitz here. You'll see Cronin come in on the right side of your screen. Either an offensive lineman was supposed to turn out on him or a back pick him up. And by the way, Matt Herkenhoff is looking back into the backfield. I don't want to point a finger at him, but I think he might have been in charge of turning out on the linebacker in that situation.
I think you did point a finger at it. Loss of 8. Livingston swinging it out too high and over the outstretched fingertips of McLean. That thwarts the opportunity for the Chiefs. We still have 21 seconds to play in this first half, and it's going to be a punting situation for Zenon Andrusichin. They're calling him Xenon here. Well, it's not easy. Well, Rufus Crawford, you hear him going, Rufus. There he is.
His last punt looks something like a Pete Rose line drive. And he better get a little more height on the ball, or Rufus is going to make this crowd come to their feet.
High pass. He handled it. Oh, Zenon did a good job of holding on to that ball, and he booms this one rather well back at the 7-yard line. Coming out with it, Rufus Crawford gets out near the 30-yard line, and a flying tackle by 85 Ed Beckman, who does an excellent job. A 52-yard punt, a 22-yard return.
Andrusichin did a good job of fielding the ball here. He gets all the way to full extension, comes down with it, and gets the ball off. Had they had a block on in that situation, they probably would have gotten to him. Fortunately, they had set up the return, at least fortunately on Zenon's part, and he was able to get a good kick away.
9 seconds remaining in the first half. Handoff going to Al Hunter, and this should do it as Hunter is thwarted as he gets to the 37-yard line. Gary Green on the tackle along with Gary Spaney. This big crowd comes to its feet. They've enjoyed the first half here in the Kingdome. And that is the end of the first half. The score, Seattle 20, Kansas City 10. The preceding announcement was furnished as a public service by the National Football League. Certainly the highlight of this first half for the Seahawks, a 57-yard pass, Zorn to Largent to open up the scoring, 9:15 of the first quarter. Gary Barbaro, a 30-yard interception, returning it to the 1. Morgado scoring with 1:58 left to play in this first half, and it is 20-10 here at halftime, the Seahawks leading the Chiefs. We look forward to the second half of action, and we will join NFL 78 after these messages from your local stations.
You're watching KING TV, Seattle.
Welcome back to our NFL 78 studios in New York. I'm Brian Gumble. Mike Adamle is on assignment in Hawaii. We'll try to get you caught up on the finals of week number 16. The Dallas Cowboys playing fine offensive football of late. Showed it again today at Shea Stadium. 30-7. They ended the Jets season at 8-8. The Cowboys go 12-4. Danny White at the controls of the offense today as Roger Staubach nursed a bad ankle. And White had himself a good afternoon, starting off this drive into the wind, completing a pass to Tony Hill. That one good for 16 yards. When they got it down close, Tony Dorsett, who rushed for 121 yards in the day, took it in to make it 7-0 Dallas. Once again, Danny White up top, this time completing one to Staubach's favorite receiver, number 88, Drew Pearson. That kept the Cowboy drive alive that ended with a field goal to make it 10-0. What kind of day was it for the Cowboys? They were good and they were lucky. Watch this. Danny White completes one right here to Billy Joe Dupree, but as he fights for yardage, the ball comes loose. Who is Johnny on the spot? None other than number 33, Tony Dorsett. He picks it up, and together they combine on a 75-yard touchdown. It was that kind of a day for the Cowboys. They coasted to a big win, 30-7. White finished 15 of 24, 156 yards. They did not miss Roger Staubach at all, at least against the Jets today. The Philadelphia Eagles kept their playoff hopes alive, playing at home. They beat the hapless Giants today 20-3. The Giants lose 7 of their last 8 in what may be their final season under John McVay. It's a fine ball game for this man, number 31, Wilbert Montgomery. He rushed for 130 yards and 24 attempts. That one good for 46 6 yards early in the ball game. After they got it down close, it was Montgomery once more, and all of a sudden it was 6-0 Eagles. Ron Jaworski did his part, going up top to the giant, Harold Carmichael. You want to see a mismatch? Look at this. 6'8" against the defender. He takes it in. It sets Philly up for another score. And once again, it's Wilbert Montgomery who does the honors, taking it across, and all of a sudden it's 13-3 Eagles. Philly's defense also played a part right here, picking off Joe Pizarczyk. It's Frank LeMaster. The Eagles coast in 20-3 the final. That is the Eagles' best season since 1966. They will wait until the final outcomes of later games today to find out if they are in the playoffs in the NFC. Cleveland against Cincinnati. The Bengals finish out at 4-12, but they did it in style today. They put it all together and beat the Cleveland Browns 48-16. This was a ball game that Cleveland's Brian Sipes started but left early with a head injury. And Mark Miller came on in relief, and he got a touchdown early in the ball game to make it 6-0 Browns. But then Anderson led the Bengals back upfield and went up top to Don Bass. Corner of the end zone, 84, touchdown, 10-6 Bengals. Anderson to Griffin just before the half, 17-6 Bengals. You want to see a bad pass that works? Look at this one. Archie Griffin, hook, right there to Walker, touchdown, 24-6. The Brownies got it back when Greg Pruitt, who rushed for over 100, right there, 178 yards, got 70 of them on this touchdown. But after that, it was all Bengals. Get the computer set. In the third quarter, Anderson calls his own number, and all of a sudden, it's 31-16 Bengals. Then Anderson calls Pete Johnson's number. He had a brilliant day. That made it 38-16 Bengals. And then the defense coming to play. Mark Miller picked off by Scott Perry. Perry takes it home. Cincinnati put it all together. The final today, 48-16. The Bengals, though they only won 4 games, they went out in a flash today. New Orleans against Tampa Bay. The Saints a winner today, 17-10. Another good day for Archie Manning, 25 of 36 for 250 yards and 1 touchdown. The Saints finish at 7-9. That is their best season. And San Francisco versus Detroit. The Lions a winner today, 33-14. The 49ers finished the season at 2-14. How bad had things gotten for them? Steve DeBerg, their first-string quarterback, went down with a knee injury. Scott Bull, their second-string quarterback, went down with a leg injury. They called on wide receiver Freddie Solomon to come in and quarterback as he did at the University of Tampa. He came in. He actually ran for a touchdown, but it didn't help the hapless 49ers. The house that Joe Thomas built came crumbling down once again today. We'll go back to the ballparks for updates on the rest of the day's games.
There's the score in the Kingdome. Seattle leading it 20-10 at halftime. In other action this afternoon, Baltimore was beaten by Buffalo in that football game. A halfback option pass. Joe Washington to Mike Siani got Baltimore back in the game, but Terry Miller had a big day, and the final was 21-14 Buffalo. The St. Louis Cardinals finished their last half of the season in fine fashion under Bud Wilkinson. After losing their first 8, Ed St. Louis really did play well. Another final score, or a halftime score, 21-6 Oakland, and of course Minnesota's in trouble right now.
Well, Minnesota, if they're going to make the playoffs, have got to win today. Oakland, as we talked about earlier, is the mystery team of the NFL this year. Had no reason to win today, but they're blowing Minnesota out of the ballpark.
And Los Angeles is leading Green Bay. They're late in the first period. Now, let's see, it's now a halftime score. That is a halftime score. L.A. leading Green Bay 7-0. Philadelphia won earlier today, and things are looking rather good for Dick Vermeil's club. San Diego 21-10 at halftime over Houston. Now that's the situation on those later games, and we'll be keeping you up to date in the second half, of course. Jay Randolph along with Ed Podolak here at halftime. 20-10 on the board over there. Seahawks on top.
Well, we've had an exciting first half. I hope we have more in the second half. You know, both of these clubs know that when this ball game is over today, and they have to be thinking about that the season is over, they know the next time they put the uniform on, they have the same record as the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
0-0.
Yeah, there is light at the end of the tunnel for both teams today.
Barbaro, a big interception. That is the 10th interception in the last 4 games for Kansas City. We talked about their improved defense, and it's got to be one of the bright spots.
Well, it was a big interception. Obviously, the reason Seattle's on top is because they found some weaknesses in the Kansas City secondary. We predicted that at the top of the show. Without Tim Gray playing, he's a leading force besides being a good cover guy and a good tackler. Kansas City has had problems there. Of course, then Gary Barbarough's in the right place at the right time, and he's the reason Kansas City's back in the ballgame.
And that big run when they had the call against them on the punt, brought it back. Patera said, let's go for it, put the double tight ends in. Kansas City went with the goal line defense. Hunter stepped through, 55 yards, bingo.
The story of the game, at least as far as I'm concerned, has been Al Hunter. We talked earlier about the fact he's had trouble getting his pro career on track after a great season he had at Notre Dame. He was supposed to be a 9.3 sprinter. I've seen him play a couple times, had not seen that kind of speed from him. Today, we have seen it all. I'll tell you, he is a bright, bright spot in this Seattle offense.
A very interesting first half. Come back with us for the second half of action here at the Kingdome in Seattle. 20-10 Seattle.
This 1978 National Football League game is brought to you by New Schlitz Light Natural Pilsner Beer. Still less filling with a taste that's bigger than light. By
Time of possession about even. The Seahawks have done more in their 15-32 than the Chiefs have done in 14-28.
Well, that's the blaring difference in the statistics, Jay. The Seahawks have averaged about twice as many yards per play as Kansas City has, and I think that boils down to the fact that Kansas City's ball control type offense is limited to 3- and 4-yard games.
8 first downs, though, for a ball control club against 16 for the Seahawks. That's been the problem. The Chiefs have not controlled the ball enough.
And that's not very much control, is it? My feeling, and I want to expand this a little bit, is the zone defense was created to keep teams from gaining big plays or making big plays. Make a team gain 3 to 10 yards a play and march 80 yards without making a mistake, a fumble, a turnover, or whatever. And that's the reason why the zone defenses have been so effective. When you adopt the wing T offense, you basically are adopting a philosophy that plays right into those hands. And, you know, I believe you've got to throw the ball more than Kansas City has.
Jack Patera, the man who coached the original fearsome foursome.
Well, he believes that you win with defense and that you draft defensive linemen to build a franchise around. I know that was Bud Grant's theory at Minnesota, where Jack coached for a while, and he's done a good job. We talked about the formula here at Seattle and making them a contender in 3 years. We talked about Jim Zorn. The second part of that formula is trading Tony Dorsett for 4 football players. There are 4 people running around down there on that field today in place of Tony Dorsett. It was a very smart move, I think.
A lot of people questioned it at the time it was made, but it's proving out to be very good indeed. Patera is 45 years old, a native of Bismarck, North Dakota. He was named coach here in January of '76. Had a 3-year contract. It's now been extended through 1980, and well, it should. We'll say again, what a great job Patera, his staff, and the people of the great Northwest have done in supporting these Seahawks in NFL action up here. We're ready to go with the second half. Zen and Andrusician will kick off. Webster and Crawford set to receive the kickoff. 20-10 as we go to the third quarter of play. Seahawks lead it. That's Rufus, and he's at the 15. Crawford at the 20, 25, 30, almost broke it out of there. But a big play is made by number 34, Eddie Payton. Eddie has done a great job returning in there on the specialty team to make the tackle. 26-yard return. And Seattle will set up shop with Zorn, number 10, at quarterback. Sherman Smith, 47, and Al Hunter, 24, is the running backs. Largent, 80. McCullum, 84, the wide receivers. Ferguson will be in there a lot also, 89. Sawyer and Howard, 81 and 87. You'll see them quite a bit at tight end. First down from the 34. Zorn's going to throw on first down. And he does. He wings it out to John Sawyer. Sawyer looks like he has a first down up at the 46. Tackle made by Elrod, number 54. Take a look at that offensive line for the Seahawks, as the pickup was 11 yards for the first down. Art Kuhn is at center, 54. Tom Lynch, 61, and Bob Newton, 78, are at the guards. Nick Bebout He's 63, along with Steve August, 76, are at the tackles.
And again, that play was successful because Kansas City was in man-to-man coverage. They cleared out with the wide receivers, dumped the ball to the back in the flat.
First down from the 45. Penalty marker goes down. Handoff going to Sherman Smith, and Sherman is all the way to the 30-yard line. They may bring it back. Kansas City was faking a blitz, and Ron Howard, the tight end, looked like he may have jumped off for Seattle. It was a 25-yard run that will be brought back because of a penalty against Seattle.
Boy, that's a tough situation to be in, too, as a running back, because you can see your offensive line move, and you know that the second they hand you the ball, and we'll listen to the call.
Offense number 87 offside. First down.
But you know the second they hand you the ball that the play isn't going to count, but you have to gain at least 5 yards or they'll take the play instead of the penalty.
That's right.
And some people are going half speed and some people are going full speed, and I used to hate it.
First and 15. We'll check this Kansas City defense for you in a moment. 20-10, the Seahawks. Opening moments of the third period. Sherman Smith's going to do it again. Well, that's the way to go. All the way down to the 40-yard line. First down, Gary Green on the tackle.
Well, Sherman came right back with a big gainer after the last one was nullified. It's a little delayed draw play. He reads his blocking excellently. You could see there how he veered to the outside. Gary Barbaro just misses. I used to call that being at the end of the funnel, and that's where Gary Barbaro was, at the end of that funnel, and somehow Sherman Smith put a side move on him and gained another 10 yards.
It was a good block that time by Tom Lynch. 57 yards on 9 rushes now for Smith as he picked up 20 on that last play. That's Largent going in motion. First down at the 40. A handoff going to Al Hunter, who got cracked by Whitney Paul. Paul, 53, making initial contact. Art Still, 67, is there. Let's look now at the Kansas City club as they line up with Art Still, 67, and Sylvester Hicks, 75 at the ends. Parrish, 61, the nose tackle. Middle backers, Rozomek, 55, and Clarence Sanders now in there, number 50. Howard, 52, outside with Whitney Paul, 53. The corners, Green, 24, and Thomas, 18. Barbaro playing the weak safety spot. Ted Berkmeyer playing for the injured Tim Gray at strong safety. Second and 10 from the 40. Al Hunter. Hunter, who's had quite a day and has been a real workhorse, gets to the 38-yard line before he's wrapped up by Don Parrish.
Good play by Don Parrish. We talked earlier about how tough that position is to play because you've got a job to do, but very seldom do you get in on the action because as you're double teamed, people will run away from you. You don't have a chance to put on a good pass rush. It can be frustrating to play there all day. In that case, Don got to put the finishing touches on a running back, something that just makes him drool.
Hunter has 115 yards on 17 rushes, 113 in the first half. Here's a pass complete down at the 27-yard line as it was on target to Paul Howard, the tight end, number 87, a pickup of 10 yards. Emmett Thomas and Clarence Sanders on the tackle.
We're going to see Parrish now trying to put on a pass rush. And as soon as he gets by the center, you can see the guard sitting there to put both forearms in his chin and stop his penetration.
78, Big Bob Newton out of Nebraska. Nebraska, of course, and Oklahoma. New Year's night. The possession about even. The Seahawks have done more in their 15-32 than the Chiefs have done in 14-28.
Well, that's the blaring difference in the statistics, Jay. The Seahawks have averaged about twice as many yards per play as Kansas City has, and I think that boils down to the fact that Kansas City's ball control type offense is limited to 3- and 4-yard gains.
8 first downs, though, for a ball control club against 16 for the Seahawks. That's been the problem. The Chiefs have not controlled the ball enough.
And that's not very much control, is it? My feeling, and I want to expand this a little bit, is the zone defense was created to keep teams from gaining big plays or making big plays. Make a team gain 3 to 10 yards a play and march 80 yards without making a mistake, a fumble, a turnover, or whatever. And that's the reason why the zone defenses have been so effective. When you adopt the wing T offense, you basically are adopting a philosophy that plays right into those hands. And, you know, I believe you've got to throw the ball more than Kansas City has.
Jack Patera, the man who coached the original fearsome foursome.
Well, he believes that you win with defense and that you draft defensive linemen to build a franchise around. I know that was Bud Grant's theory at Minnesota, where Jack coached for a while, and he's done a good job. We talked about the formula here at Seattle and making them a contender in 3 years. We talked about Jim Zorn. The second part of that formula is trading Tony Dorsett for 4 football players. There are 4 people running around down there on that field today in place of Tony Dorsett. It was a very smart move, I think.
A lot of people questioned it at the time it was made, but it's proving out to be very good indeed. Patera is 45 years old, a native of Bismarck, North Dakota. Was named coach here in January of '76. Had a 3-year contract. It's now been extended through 1980, and well, it should. We'll say again, what a great job Patera, his staff, and the people of the great Northwest have done in supporting these Seahawks in NFL action up here. We're ready to go with the second half. Zen and Andrusician will kick off. Webster and Crawford set to receive the kickoff. 20-10 as we go to the third quarter of play. Seahawks lead it. That's Rufus, and he's at the 15. Crawford at the 20, 25, 30, almost broke it out of there. But a big play is made by number 34, Eddie Payton. Eddie, who's done a great job returning, in there on the specialty team to make the tackle. 26-yard return. And Seattle will set up shop with Zorn, number 10, at quarterback. Sherman Smith, 47, and Al Hunter, 24, is the running backs. Largent, 80. McCullum, 84, the wide receivers. Ferguson will be in there a lot also, 89. Sawyer and Howard, 81 and 87. You'll see them quite a bit at tight end. First down from the 34. Zorn's going to throw on first down. And he does. He wings it out to John Sawyer. Sawyer looks like he has a first down up at the 46. Tackle made by Elrod, number 54. Take a look at that offensive line for the Seahawks, as the pickup was 11 yards for the first down. Art Kuhn is at center, 54. Tom Lynch, 61, and Bob Newton, 78, are at the guards. Nick Bebout, he's 63, along with Steve August, 76, are at the tackles.
And again, that play was successful because Kansas City was in man-to-man coverage. They cleared out with the wide receivers, dumped the ball to the back in the flat.
First down from the 45. Penalty marker goes down. Handoff going to Sherman Smith, and Sherman is all the way to the 30-yard line. They may bring it back. Kansas City was faking a blitz, and Ron Howard, the tight end, looked like he may have jumped off for Seattle. It was a 25-yard run that will be brought back because of a penalty against Seattle.
Boy, that's a tough situation to be in, too, as a running back, because you can see your offensive line move, and you know that the second they hand you the ball, and we'll listen to the call.
Offense number 87 offside. First down.
But you know the second they hand you the ball that the play isn't going to count, but you have to gain at least 5 yards or they'll take the play instead of the penalty.
That's right.
And some people are going half speed and some people are going full speed, and I used to hate it.
First and 15. We'll check this Kansas City defense for you in a moment. 20-10, the Seahawks. Opening moments of the third period. Sherman Smith's going to do it again. Well, that's the way to go. All the way down to the 40-yard line. First down, Gary Green on the tackle.
Well, Sherman came right back with a big gainer after the last one was nullified. It's a little delayed draw play. He reads his blocking excellently. You could see there how he veered to the outside. Gary Barbaro just misses. I used to call that being at the end of the funnel, and that's where Gary Barbaro was, at the end of that funnel, and somehow Sherman Smith put a side move on him and gained another 10 yards.
It was a good block that time by Tom Lynch. 57 yards on 9 rushes now for Smith as he picked up 20 on that last play. That's Largent going in motion. First down at the 40. A handoff going to Al Hunter, who got cracked by Whitney Paul. Paul 53 making initial contact. Art Still 67 is there. Let's look now at the Kansas City club as they line up with Art Still 67 and Sylvester Hicks 75 at the ends. Parrish 61, the nose tackle. Middle backers, Rozomek 55 and Clarence Sanders now in there, number 50. Howard 52 outside with Whitney Paul 53. The corners, Green 24 and Thomas 18. Barbaro playing the weak safety spot. Ted Bergmeyer playing for the injured Tim Gray at strong safety. 2nd and 10 from the 40. Al Hunter. Hunter, who's had quite a day and has been a real workhorse, gets to the 38-yard line before he's wrapped up by Don Parrish.
Good play by Don Parrish. We talked earlier about how tough that position is to play because you've got a job to do, but very seldom do you get in on the action because as you're double teamed, people will run away from you. You don't have a chance to put on a good pass rush. It can be frustrating to play there all day. In that case, Don got to put the finishing touches on a running back, something that just makes him drool.
Hunter has 115 yards on 17 rushes, 113 in the first half. Here's a pass complete down at the 27-yard line as it was on target to Paul Howard, the tight end, number 87, a pickup of 10 yards. Emmett Thomas and Clarence Sanders on the tackle.
We're going to see Parrish now trying to put on a pass rush. And as soon as he gets by the center, you can see the guard sitting there to put both forearms in his chin and stop his penetration.
78, Big Bob Newton out of Nebraska. Nebraska, of course, and Oklahoma. New Year's night, the Orange Bowl on NBC. Zorn going long. Largent overthrown. Largent in a foot race with Gary Green. And Zorn getting up after taking a shot from Sylvester Hicks.
You know,
penalty marker down on this play. I just see it now.
And pardon me, Jay, but Seattle has an exciting passing game to watch because they do everything. The last play was a curl to the tight end. This play an up pattern to Largent. They've run a number of square outs. They've delayed to the running backs. They have everything in their repertoire.
Referee Bob Frederick.
Offensive holding, number 47, first down.
Sherman Smith holding. (20-10), the Seahawks leading. We have Don Testerman 42 now and Al Hunter 24 in the backfield. It'll be 1st and 20 from the 38-yard line. Three wide receivers in there, and coming in motion is Hunter. Zorn rolling, looking, cutting back and throwing over the middle, and a great catch at the 23-yard line by Duke Ferguson, number 89. You'll not see a better catch than that. Rozomek on the tackle.
Again, we'll see the advantage of having a scrambling mobile quarterback. Jim Zorn comes out on a rollout, sets up, gets pressure from Parrish, and now I'm sure we'll be able to see Ferguson come back for the ball. You see him come back between the two Kansas City defenders. You've got to do that if you want to be a successful wide receiver in the National Football League.
Pickup of 15, 2nd down and 5 at the 23. Ferguson came from Dallas for number 2. Hunter getting a little rough up the middle there at the 22-yard line. The stop is made. Gary Sanders, the right middle linebacker, number 50. First-year man from Cincinnati, making the play. Clock is running with 9 minutes and 50 seconds left to play. It's been a scoreless third period. Seahawks leading at 20-10 over the Chiefs here in the Kingdome. You know, Steve Largent has averaged 52 receptions for 812 yards and 7 touchdowns a season in 3 years with the Seahawks. And that is a pretty nice figure for a wide receiver playing anywhere. Largent is set out at the top of the screen this time. Zorn looks for him, then wants to go over the middle, now is in trouble, and he is sacked. at the 40 or at the 26-yard line. Sylvester Hicks doing the job on him. And we're going to see Efren Herrera coming on. One of the Chiefs is shaken up. Number 61, Don Parrish, coming off under his own power. And Efren,
pardon me, Jay, but Efren's going to be outside of the 40-yard line or outside of the 30, making it a 41-yard kick. He's going to put a little strain on those stitches from that end.
This might be a stitch buster right here. Efren Herrera started the day with 74 points. He's been 7 of 9 inside the 40. This is going to be spotted at the 33, a 43-yard field goal. Zorn holding. Herrera has got it on the way. Wide to the right. It was long enough, but he was off target, wide to the right. So Kansas City will get the football. We'll come back with 9 minutes and 12 seconds left to play in the third quarter.
Efren Herrera here indicates to us prior to the referee as to whether this kick will be good or not. You'll see him right here. He's trying to put a little body English on it. Now he knows it's no good, but one thing, he sure wasn't holding his side, was he? That's, to me, is amazing to be able to kick the ball.
Pretty good zip on that ball, too.
And he got the distance on it to be able to kick the ball 10 days after an appendectomy. Or how long's it been? A little over a week, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been a week, I don't believe. It happened on Monday. 1st and 10 from the 25. Reed cutting it back over the 30, gets out to the 32-yard line. John Harris, 44, the free safety, making the play. Pickup of about 7 yards on the play it is. It is Livingston along with Reed, Belton, and Bailey in there right now. Charliane playing the center spot, 56 for the injured Jack Rudney, who injured a muscle in his left leg. Simmons and Condon, Getty and Herkenhoff up front. Tight ends have been Walter White and Tony Samuels. Henry Marshall has played a good deal. And back the other way comes McKnight across the 37, out to the 38-yard line almost. Keith Butler, 53 on the tackle. And we'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
You're watching the Seahawks on KING-TV, Seattle.
It all straightened out, and the ball is at the 37, let's call it, where it'll be 1st and 10 with 8 minutes to play in the third quarter. Seahawks 20-10 over the Chiefs. Reed needs 15 more yards to become a 1,000-yard rusher, and he's trying for some here. Cuts it back. He's got it, and he may have a touchdown. He is in a foot race with John Harris, and he's in. Reed becomes a 1,000-yard rusher, the first for the Kansas City Chiefs since 1967. 63-yard romp, touchdown Chiefs, and Kansas City can set their teepee back up again.
If you're going to go over 1,000 yards for the season, I can't think of a better play to do it on. Again, that delay sweep, he cuts inside. Bob Simmons is leading him. And right here, he makes a move and just sails through the Seattle secondary, and now he's gone. Looks like Autry Beeman giving him chase, too, along with Harris. But, boy, that's a great way to go over the 1,000-yard mark, isn't it?
The extra point. Bad snap, but the hold is handled by Adams, and it is up and good by Stenerud. 63 yards, 116 yards for Reed and 11 rushes.
Hi, this is Heisman Trophy winner Billy Sims of Oklahoma. You will be seeing me and my teammates train to crush Nebraska in the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day right here on NBC.
Mike Garrett was the last 1,000-yard rusher, 1,087 in 67. Of course, that was a 14-game schedule, but boy, oh boy, nice going, Mr. Reed. And boy, the Chiefs are very much back in business. And an end decision. Again, a high short kick. That is Rufus Crawford. He's at the 20. 25, trying to get up the middle, is at the 30, at the 32. And at the 32, Clarence Sanders again doing a good job for the Chiefs. Well, a moment ago, you saw that word from NBC about the Orange Bowl, and I can only tell you, it should be something else to see Nebraska and Oklahoma once again. That is at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, immediately following the Rose Bowl, New Year's Day. The Rose and the Orange on NBC. Seahawks by 3, 20-17, 7.5 to go, third quarter. Zorn hands it to Al Hunter. And Hunter is near the 34-yard line. Thomas Howard, 52 on the stop. You got to like the way the Chiefs have bounced back in this ball game, Ed.
Magnificent. You know, we talked a little bit ago, in fact, just before the end of the first half, how things looked very dark because of the wing tee and the fact that they were down 3 scores. And now they're right back in the ball game.
Seahawks won 3 of 7 games played with the West Division teams this season. They got Oakland, of course. The other victory over the Chiefs, 13-10. Denver and San Diego swept Seattle. Al Hunter. Ooh, did he get hit as he got to the 38-yard line? Clarence Sanders, who's playing in that right middle linebacker spot, doing a nice job.
Al Hunter had a little of his thunder stolen from him by Tony Reed here a moment ago. He's trying to get the Seahawks going again. And boy, 74 Jeff Lloyd really put a shot on him after about a 2-yard gain.
We've got Lloyd in there along with Lindstrom and Johnson, Rozamek and Sanders, Paul and Howard. And now Collier is in there in the secondary on 3rd and 4. A little trouble on the handoff. Hunter gets away from one man, but he didn't get away from Jeff Lloyd, 74. And it's going to bring up a punting situation. The Chiefs, down 3, are going to get the football. Oakland 21-6 at the halftime. David Humm has replaced Ken Stabler. Stabler, a back injury. Stabler's had his problems. Some people have said his knees are just too bad. Some people have said his arm's not what it should be. But Oakland is now leading 21-6. They have started the third period with David Humm, the former Nebraska star, quarterbacking Oakland.
And some people have said they sure would like to have him as their quarterback.
Uh-oh, fake. And they're coming up the near sideline, and it is complete for the first down to Ron Howard. Well, Patera gambled and won in the first half. After a penalty against Kansas City, he went on 4th and 1 and got a 55-yard touch from Hunter. And here he goes with the pass.
Boy, Jack Patera.
Pickup of 9 for the first down.
If Jack Patera isn't a gambling man, I've never seen one. You've got a punter throwing a pass, 4th down and 5 on your own 35-yard line. Now, those are odds I don't like. But in that case, it works.
Thunderfoot turned out to be Thunder Arm on that one, didn't he? First down for Seattle. Well, we've seen a little bit of everything, and Zorn putting it up, throws, fumble. John Sawyer picked back up, coming back with it downfield, and out of bounds, Ted Bergmeyer. Bergmeyer came up with a big play in the Denver game on a punt return last week, and then saw his teammate Reed fumble when Kansas City was about to get back in business. A big play here.
It's a good hit, and the ball comes out right away. He has control. You can see almost ran a step with it before it came out. Bergmeyer right on the spot, and he wants to get in the end zone.
Rozamek forced the fumble.
He and Testerman, he gets a little testy at Testerman, I guess.
It was a 23-yard return with the fumble. Kansas City has a shot to take the lead.
The college basketball season gets off to an explosive start when the defending national champion Wildcats of Kentucky take on the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. Saturday, December 30th on NBC.
Ted Bergmeyer has played well, got his first interception. A free agent fine. He was a 5th-round draft choice originally at Miami. 1st and 10 at the 24-yard line for Kansas City. The give is to McKnight. McKnight's at the 20, still going down to the 17, the 15, the 14-yard line. And right now, the Chiefs have taken the momentum away from the Seattle Seahawks. Webster 38, Brown 22 on the tackle.
Tony Reed and Ted McKnight can really run with that football. Ted McKnight is really an upfield runner. As you see here, he sees a little seam upfield, and he just gets the ball as close to the goal line as he can. You know, he's going to be a good running back as time goes by. He played at Minnesota Duluth. It's a small school, and I think he has more to learn than a lot of running backs at this point in his career because of that, but he is getting better every week.
First down at the 14-yard line. They give to the man in motion, McKnight. McKnight still going, is at the 10. Running hard, John Harris, the free safety, 44 on the tackle. Kansas City with an opportunity to go ahead or maybe to tie. A 5-yard pickup. 3 minutes, 30 seconds left to go in the third quarter. The Chiefs have battled back. They were down 20-10 at halftime.
If Kansas City continues to use the wing T offense, Ted McKnight has a good chance of rushing for 1,000 yards too. Kansas City has a good chance of having two backs in the same backfield.
Belton, Morgado, and McKnight in there. And this is Morgado. Arnold Morgado got inside the 5. Beeson 58 and Harris 44 on the tackle. And it's going to be first and goal to go at the 4-yard line. A pickup of 7 for Morgado. And Tony Reed is coming back in. We mentioned Reed is the first 1,000-yard rusher since Mike Garrett in 67. He's only the third in Kansas City history. Abner Haynes, when they were still really the Dallas Texans, got 1,000 yards in 62. First and goal to go from the 4. McKnight in motion. Livingston rolling. Livingston throwing, and it is intercepted. Mike Livingston should have never thrown that football. He should have just bailed out. Webster comes up with it. The pass thrown right at the defender, the cornerback Webster.
Mike really makes an error in judgment here. He's got a run-pass option called. You can see no one blocked the defensive lineman, and as Mike throws the ball, he should have thrown the ball away, come back, second down and 4, and try to go from there.
A big play for Seattle. They still lead 20-17. A rather uneasy crowd here at the moment, but they've just seen Cornell Webster come up with his 5th interception of the year to stop the Chiefs. First down from the 20-yard line. Al Hunter pulled down by Don Parrish, number 61. That interception a moment ago was the first pass that Livingston had thrown in the second half.
Here's the attendance today. Tickets distributed 64,777. In-house.
San Diego 24, Houston 17, and I'd like to make a prediction here, Jay. I predict that San Diego will win the Western Division of the American Conference next year.
Rolf Bernishka has just kicked the 19-yard field goal in that one. They're in the third quarter with 10:50 to play. Interesting prediction. Zorn sets up a screen out here to Testerman. He's at the 25, 30, 35, 40. 42-yard line fumble. Testerman lost the ball at the 42-yard line. Seattle holds on. Whitney Paul was there on the tackle to force the fumble. And we'll have to see who comes up out of there. The indication is Seattle has it. Looks like it might be Nick Bebout, 63 under there. That's it. Bebout held on. Bebout from Wyoming.
Zorn goes back, again throws a little delayed screen to his backs. He's been using his backs a lot today. Testerman gets inside where there's a lot of room, and there's a big collision down here, and the ball comes out. Gary Green's on one side of it, Gary Barbaro. Fortunately, Bebout was on the spot.
Zorn is 13-22, 200 yards. That was a 20-yard pickup. First down at the 42-yard line. Play action. He had to get rid of it quick. He does. That's John Sawyer, the tight end. And Sawyer is up and out of bounds just inside the Kansas City territory near the 49. Rozamek on the play. Pickup of 9. Excellent. Zorn getting this pass away. A tall.
He has quick feet. You can see here, he sees the pressure. he's able to move away from the pressure far enough to throw the ball all the way across the field. There are very few people in this game that can do that. He has really impressed me. Jim Zorn has really matured as this season has gone along. He has such a bright future that it's really unbelievable.
Sawyer's had 4 catches today for 31 yards. He only had 6 coming into today's game. 2nd and 1. Hunter, first down. Gets to the 46. Sylvester Hicks, 75 on the tackle. We have 55 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Kansas City down by 3, 20-17. And that interception a few moments ago will be one that Livingston probably sees for a long, long time. That was a tough one. You got to at least get 3 down there, Ed.
Well, it was at a critical time, and first down, you've got to throw the ball away and come back and take 2 more cracks at it.
1st and 10 from the 46. Zorn gives it to Testerman. Testerman is near the 42-yard line. Art Still, 67 on the tackle. The Seahawks certainly have done one thing. They have, I think, established their offense. Everybody is well aware of what they can do. Zorn and company has averaged 337 yards a game in 15 games. The gun sounding, the end of the third quarter. The score, Seahawks 20, Chiefs 17. We'll give you that address again, so we invite you to get a pencil, piece of paper so you can write it down. It is 2nd and 7 from the 43, and Zorn's going to go upstairs. Out to Testerman. Blocker in front of him. He's at the 40 and out of bounds. Sanders handled the play well. The guard, Tom Lynch, came out in front. There is the address for you. The U.S. Olympics, Post Office Box 1980T, Cathedral Station, Boston, Mass. 02118. We certainly hope you'll take time to support our Olympic athletes as we look ahead to the Olympics coming up in 1980. Hunter with 125 yards on 23 carries. Smith has the record of 156. That is the Seattle record, so Hunter's got a shot at that. 3rd and 3. Zorn has time over the middle, and it is almost intercepted. The ball batted through a couple of hands, trying for the interception. Was 26 Gary Barbaro, came up with a big one earlier. Al Hunter, the intended receiver, and let's see, are they going to send out the punter? They are. Herman Weaver.
We never know what that means, though, with the Seattle
right.
team. Jim Zorn delivered that ball a little early that time. If he'd have waited just another count, his back would have cleared across. He had a big play. You could see he was a little disgusted with himself as he left the field.
Weaver has punted a couple times, completed a pass to Ron Howard, and he's going to punt this one. A high wobbly kick. Eddie Payton lets it go, and it is going to be down. Look out. Ball patted back out, and where is it? At the 1? I believe so. The officials are discussing where they're going to put it down. No, it is going to be a touchback, and it was very close. From our angle, you couldn't quite tell. Jack Patera looking out at the scene.
Now, it is possible to be in the end zone and knock the ball out.
Well, it was close there.
We have to see if the ball crosses the plane at any time, because, well, right there, it appeared to cross the plane.
It may have touched the goal line right there. Back with more right after this message. Well, if I might be allowed a pleasantry, I want to send along congratulations to the St. Louis football Cardinals. They won 6 of their last 8 under Bud Wilkinson, put up 42 points on the board against Atlanta today. As we get started with Kansas City, 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line, and that's Arnold Morgado, hit by Sammy Green, 56. Morgado, a gain of about 6 yards.
Arnold Morgado is the kind of back you want to tackle all the way to the ground. You want to pin his shoulders before you quit, because he's going to fight for every extra inch that he can.
We're in the first minute of the 4th period. Seahawks leading 20-17. Morgado again. And he is close to the first down. May have gotten it as he bumped over the 30-yard line. Hit there by Terry Beeson, 58. Sammy Green, 56. Kansas with a new coach. Not a new coach. He's coming back. Don Fambro. And John Hadel as his offensive assistant coordinator. Wish the Jayhawks well. Ted Owens got a good basketball club there. Clock running with 13:40 to play in this game. Seahawks 20-17. They led at halftime 20-10. Led at the end of the first quarter 7-3. Play action. Livingston throwing and incomplete. Looked like he was trying to go for Samuels. Morgado was also out of the zone. There was good coverage. Clock is stopped with 13:28 to play. A win today, remember, for Kansas City would give them a 5-11 record. A win for Seattle would make them 9-7 and give them the best record ever for a third-year expansion team. Now the Seahawks going into a prevent defense. Walter White, number 88, the tight end. Henry Marshall going out left to the top of the screen. Second down and 10. Hand off to MacArthur Lane and nothing there. That didn't fool anybody, including the fifth defensive back, Keith Simpson, who was there to make the tackle, number 48.
Seattle plays as much what's called nickel defense or prevent defense as any team in the league. They will go to that even in running situations sometime. So obviously they're very good at playing it. Kansas City lining up in their pro set, they don't do that near as much as Seattle lines up in their prevent defense. They're going to lose most of the time in this situation.
Fans here rooting on the Seattle defense. 3rd and 10 from the 30. They're showing a blitz. Are they coming? Livingston throwing for Dorsey and incomplete. Cornell Webster cut in front of Dorsey. Almost came up with the interception. Fine play by Cornell Webster out of Tulsa.
Cornell Webster plays the ball perfectly. It looks like Dorsey's open for a second, and Mike has the ball right on target. Cornell Webster comes all the way across, knocks the ball down at the last instant. That's exciting to watch, isn't it?
You hear them yelling, Rufus, Rufus. This will be the 4th punt coming up in the game for Zenon Andrusician. His longest has been 52. Now he boomed this one. Rufus is going back to the 17. He's at the 25. In trouble, gets away from one man and did not get away from number 85, Ed Beckman, who does an excellent job on those special teams. A 53-yard punt, a 14-yard return. More in a moment. The old predictor, Ed Podolak, talking about San Diego. They've just scored again. Fouts decline 10 yards. 31-17, San Diego. 6:01 left in the third quarter. Seahawks 20, Chiefs 17 here in the Kingdome. 1st and 10 from the 30. 12.5 minutes to play. Zorn going to the air. Throws complete. Testerman at the 37-yard line. Gary Spaney on the tackle, a pickup of about 7. Zorn is now 16 out of 26 for 220 yards. He has hit 8 different receivers.
And you might have noticed that Steve Largent was in the screen as the ball was caught by an offensive back. That shows how he reads Jim Zorn's trouble so well. He's all the way downfield, saw Jim was in trouble, came back, trying to get open so Jim could dump the ball to somebody.
Sperry NFL Report will bring you up to date on NFL action today, immediately following the Seahawks and Chiefs finishing things up here in the Kingdome. 2nd and 3 from the 37. Hunter looks like he's got the first down as he advanced across the 40. Lindstrom and Lloyd, 71 and 74 on the tackle. While I have a moment, I want to say first down Seattle, and I want to say thanks to our wonderful crew here today in the Kingdome. All of you fellows in the booth for just a splendid job, and the fellows in our control center, of course, great to work with our old friend, the veteran producer, and a man I've worked with for many, many years, Mr. Roy Hammerman, Barry Stoddard. The boys from Tinseltown are here working with us. Play action again. Zorn going to the far side. There is Largent. Largent is down to the 45-yard line. Gary Green on the tackle. Largent started the day with 68 catches. This one a pickup of 15 yards. His third catch of the day, a total of 71 on the year.
And the Seattle passing game has been a little silent here. We haven't seen that square out for at least a quarter. They made a lot of yardage out of that in the first half. Now they're going back to things that were good to them when they put 20 on the board.
Seahawks 20, Chiefs 17. 10 minutes and 20 seconds to play. Largent coming in motion. Sherman Smith at the 40-yard line. Stan Johnson, 72. At right end, making the tackle for the Chiefs of Marv Levy. Another thing I want to say, for all of the people at NBC, all of us who are here today, for Ed Podolak, we hope you're going to have a very, very wonderful holiday, and the very best to all of you for the season ahead.
No place like home for the holidays. So I'm going back up to Iowa, and yeah,
want to
sing some of that. They'll change channels in a hurry in that case.
Meredith would do it.
We have to see his singing coach.
Sherman Smith is inside the 35-yard line. Lloyd 74 and Spaney 59 on the tackle. Let's look at the young linebacker from Kansas State, Gary Spaney here.
And they're happy with the way he's been playing. See him trying to plug up the hole. He's doing a great job. There's just a pile of humanity in front of him.
Clock running with 9 minutes and 5 seconds left in this game. The Seahawks holding on to a 20-17 lead. See Barbaro coming out. On 3rd and 1, the Chiefs go to a goal line defense. Then Largent splits out wide to the right. Getting the call is Sherman Smith, and getting the first down is Sherman Smith. Jimbo Elrod, 54 on the tackle. 59 also in there, Spaney again. Seahawks are controlling the football, Ed, and that clock is running. Now it's stopped as they want to measure, of course, but we'll see. It is a first down.
The old term momentum seems to have changed back and forth a number of times in the second half, and it appears that Seattle is in control of it right now.
That's the 25th first down in the game for Seattle. The Chiefs have 13. 8.5 minutes to go. McCullum is a wide receiver, 84, with Largent 80. The tight end now is Ron Howard, 87. Both wide receivers going wide to the right. Out it comes, a screen to Hunter at the 30, 25, 20, down inside the 15-yard line. Oh, Hunter's had a fine day, Ed. He really has. Rozamek on the tackle, and they like it.
They have gotten some kind of yardage out of the screen pass today. Now Hunter is playing halfback instead of fullback. He's doing the same thing from that position, and he is so fast. Watch him just run by his offensive blockers here. I used to have a tendency to wait for those big fellas and see if they couldn't knock somebody down before I got in the vicinity.
20-yard pickup. Art Kuhn, 54, shaken up on the play. You saw Kuhn out in front of Hunter on the play. With a timeout, it's 20-17 Seattle. 54 Kuhn injured right here at Podolak. He's gone out of the game. Tom Lynch, 61, will have to take over. Bullard will move to guard. Of course, John Yarno out with the knee injury. The Seahawks hurting a little bit at the center spot. 1st and 10 from the 14-yard line. Al Hunter again getting the call, and it was Sylvester Hicks, number 75, on the tackle. Spaney again in there. Norm Evans, great gentleman, number 73, now at right tackle for the Seahawks. Boy, Norm had some great years. You see him here in a moment, I'm sure. 73. Some great years at Miami. Very active now with his pro athletes outreach. working with a Christian fellowship program with players and their wives throughout the National Football League. 2nd and 10 from the 14. Zorn rolling, looking, throwing back, and overthrowing everybody. And that's what Livingston should have done a little while ago.
Jim definitely made the right decision there. His receivers were well covered, threw it up in the stands.
The difference in this young man is the word you mentioned earlier in the telecast, maturity, the experience. He has held on to the ball, taken the sack when before he might give it up. He has thrown the ball away when he should so often this year. 3rd down conversion situations in this game. The Seattle club has done well, 9 for 16. Chiefs 2 for 7. It is 3rd and 10 coming here at the 14. The Seahawks want to make sure they get 3. They'd like to get the touch, but they also want to get some points out of this drive. Zorn's got lots of time now. His coverage breaks down, and I would have thought they might have called pass interference against Sawyer had he caught that ball, but there's no flag on the play, and it is incomplete. Sawyer was doing a lot of pushing off against Ted Bergmeyer, 48, and Bergmeyer is having a few words with one of the officials on the play. It's going to bring up a field goal try from Efren Herrera. This is important because if he makes it, it means the Chiefs must score a touchdown to win this ball game. 6:51 left to play. If he misses, a field goal will still tie it.
Big play for Seattle.
Efren at 7 of 9 inside the 40 coming into today's game. This will come from the 21. A 31-yarder. It is up. It is good. A little chippy by Efren Herrera with 6:47 left to play in this game. The Seattle Seahawks 23. Chiefs 17. Ed Podolak, I think that says it all. They like their football in the great Northwest. John Leipold out of Washington, D.C. They found him kicking footballs down there on a government playground one time, and he's hung around a long time. Try a little short kick, and it is fallen on by Kansas City's Clarence Sanders, who's done an excellent job today, number 50. Clarence shaken up there maybe just a bit. See McKnight patting him on the back. There's MacArthur Lane, number 42. Ed, a close personal friend of yours. This may be the last time we ever see him in a Kansas City uniform.
Mac has talked about retiring. He's had a fantastic career. He's the kind of guy that I hope gets a shot at being a coach in the National Football League, because I think he possesses the requirements it would take to be a head coach, and I hope he starts down that line.
Originally a first-round draft choice of the St. Louis Cardinals, and a real great guy. Here is McKnight trying to do it on his own and doing a good deal at that. He got about 7. Dennis Boyd finally brought him down, and McKnight thought he should have gotten more. He gets about 5 or 6 here.
This is high energy here. Teddy McKnight runs about 35 yards to make 6, but he goes all the way across the field, and almost, if Cornell Webster doesn't tie him up here, had it broken back for a big gain.
2nd and 4. Both clubs with 3 timeouts remaining. The Seahawks leading by 6. 6:05 to play in the game. Morgado, first down, midfield, and down to the 48-yard line of Seattle. In on the tackle, it was John Harris. Oakland 27-20. The Vikings have come back. Tarkington has just thrown a 24-yarder to Ahmad Rashad. There's 8:04 left in that game, and Minnesota is back in the picture.
They pull this one out. They have done some kind of miracle work.
They were down 21-0 in the first period in that one. 1st and 10 at the 48-yard line. Morgado again inside the 40 to the 36-yard line. John Harris, the free safety, 44 on the tackle. The Chiefs still hanging tough. 5 minutes and 15 seconds to play. Seahawks 23-17. First down, Kansas City.
And that was one of those holes where, as a running back, you almost have to stop and look at it. You're so surprised. Arnold Morgado had 8 or 10 feet of wide open space when he got to the line of scrimmage.
Morgado has 49 yards on 9 carries. At the 37, it's a first down. off to Reed. Reed going to the 30, down to the 25-yard line, and he almost broke it. Harris again, the free safety. And Harris is getting a workout, having to come up and make these tackles.
Boy, is Kansas City's offensive line getting off the ball now. You can see they've got the whole Seattle line caved in. He breaks a little tackle there, and two linemen in front of him, runs out of another tackle. Tony Reed is some kind of football player, and I'm glad he made 1,000 yards. He's the kind of back that deserves that kind of an honor.
At the 25-yard line, first down. Morgado, big hole again. Morgado spinning to the 18-yard line, and Ed, you said it. Up front, Ane, Simmons, Condon, Getty, and Herkenhoff are firing off of there. Autry Beeman in on the tackle, a pickup of 7.
They definitely have control of this football game right now. And you mentioned Charlie Ane. He has not had much of a chance to play because Jack Rudney is such a super center, just as good as there is, I think. But Charlie Ane is one good football player. Now that Jack is out, he's got that offensive line moving.
The ball near the 18-yard line, second down and 3. Morgado down for the first down, very close to the 11-yard line. 44, John Harris again on the tackle. Harris and Morgado seem to be meeting on almost every play, a pickup of 6.
This Chiefs offensive team right now is just obsessed with getting the ball in the end zone. You can see Kansas City's offensive line firing out, cutting people down. Arnold Morgado runs 6 yards into the secondary before he even sees a blue jersey.
And a great shot there because you could see how wide the splits were. First and 10 from the 12. McKnight gets it as he went in motion, cuts it back in, got to the 10, and now is pulled back. Beeson 58 and Harris 44 were there. Clock running with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. 23-17 Seahawks. Seahawks led 20-10 at halftime, 7-3 at the end of the first quarter.
And you can just feel it. That Seattle defense is trying to get their finger in the dike because it's getting ready to burst the way Kansas City has marched down the field with the football.
Second down and 7. The ball at the 9. 2 minutes and 15 seconds to play. Morgado, the single setback behind Mike Livingston. In motion, McKnight. The give to McKnight. He's down near the 7-yard line, and boy, was he hit. Somebody, and I want to wait till they unravel it. It was Beeson again. Wow. The 2-minute warning is now being given to both benches. 23-17 Seattle. Don't go away. Coming up when we're finished with this one, Sperry NFL report right here. Livingston has thrown 3 passes in the second half. Only 3. The 1 interception really hurt. The other 2 were incomplete. The Chiefs, as you know, if you've been with us, doing it on the ground, going right at Seattle. 3rd and 5 coming here.
And Terry Beeson knows that it's now him and a Kansas City running back that are basically going to dictate who wins this football game.
3rd and 5 from the 7. McKnight in motion. The give to Morgado. A yard at the most. They tried to let Morgado go up the middle, and he didn't. And the pro set unit will come in. Marshall, Dorsey, and McLean at last tackle. Credit Bill Gregory, 77, the sack leader of the Seahawks, and Sammy Green, 56, the linebacker. Marv Levy, I think, wants to call time, and he's getting it. Timeout. Kansas City will have 2 timeouts remaining. We have 1 minute and 28 seconds left in this action here. Seahawks 23 and the Chiefs 17. The most complete coverage in the world of sports around the globe. Now for you right here on NBC. Livingston 5 for 16 in the game, 65 yards.
And the advantage is definitely with the Seattle defense here, because with the end zone only being 10 yards long, Kansas City has got to pack their full passing game into 16 yards.
4th and 4 from the 6. They could get a first down if they get it to the 2. Livingston straight back. Looks, throws over the middle. And it was right there in the hands of Dorsey. He couldn't hold it. Dorsey had it, couldn't hold it. Coverage by Cornell Webster, but a catch that Dorsey might have made.
No excuse for that. He should have made it. That's the kind of catch
open
you've got to make in that situation. That's the difference between winning football games and losing football games, is performing in pressure spots like this right here. Larry Dorsey is on a post pattern. Mike Livingston looks the coverage off, throws the ball perfectly right on his break, and you can see the ball go right through Dorsey's hands.
Was a fine throw.
Hit him right in the face mask.
Seattle, 1st and 10 from their 6. A minute 23 to play. They lead it by 6, 23-17. The handoff to Al Hunter. Kansas City will call time with 1:17 remaining. And I've done 8 of the last 10 Kansas City games. And I've seen them come so close so many times. It has to be frustrating. But on the other side of the ledger, this is a team that has shown, both on offense and defense at times, some real improvement.
Well, there's a fine line, at least the last half of the season, between Kansas City winning and losing. And that is a lot with just knowing that you can win. There are certain teams that go on the field. The Oakland Raiders did not display it this year, but they are going to find a way to win. Now, I've played on teams like the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl, and on a team last year which was the worst team in Chiefs history. And you can just feel the moods shift among the players. You almost start looking for a way to lose when you go onto the field instead of a way to win.
That's a good point. AFC wildcard playoff game, Christmas Eve. NFL 78 beginning at 3:30 Eastern time. Of course, we've got all the playoff action coming up for you. And it begins on the 24th. That'll be Miami and Houston. (23-17). Some of the faithful heading out of the beautiful Kingdome here in Seattle. They figure it's all over now. Give you an idea of what kind of a football game we've had. We've had a lot of fun. For Seattle, Smith, 67 yards on 12 carries. Hunter, 134 yards on 26 carries. Reed, 121 yards, over the 1,000 mark. Morgado, 61. McKnight, 47. 2nd and 5. A delay to Hunter, and down he goes right at the 10-yard line. Tackle made by Whitney Paul. Kansas City, they're going to use their last timeout. They do. Kansas City now has no timeouts left. We have 1:12 remaining, and Seattle will face 3rd down and 6. Reed on his year, 1,053 yards.
And we were talking about this earlier, Jay. It's possible, if some of the running backs around the league, both in the AFC and NFC, had good days today, that there could be 14 1,000-yard rushers this year in pro football. Now, a lot of that obviously has to do with the extension of the season, 2 more games, but a lot has to do with the fact that when they moved the hash marks in, as they did about 5 years ago, to where they straddle the goalpost, it just made the rushing game more effective in the National Football League. Couple those together, and we have as many rushers maybe in one season as we had in the history of football 10 years ago.
Have you liked the new Chuck rule?
I don't think it's been enforced. I think it's very difficult to enforce, and I think they have to quit making rules like that. Now, does that explain my position?
I think it does. 3rd and 6. Zorn on a little delay hands it off in there to Sherman Smith. And the clock running now as we come to 1 minute to play. The tackle made by Gary Spaney, and it's going to be a punting situation. Seattle will have to give it up. They may take the full time here. Now they start the clock again, 50 seconds. Zorn, 18 for 28 on the day, 257 yards. Peyton is coming back. They're going to take the full time. They've got 20 seconds left on the 30-second clock. We're down to 15 on the 30-second clock, and you can see the game clock in the insert. There is the 30-second clock. Season greetings from all of us at NBC Sports.
And I think we will see a safety here. If they do not let the clock run down to where they're penalized, snap the ball, and take a safety, they are not taking full advantage of the situation.
Very good point. Very good point indeed. 21 seconds left. Penalty coming up against Seattle. Places the ball at the 5-yard line. Ed, it's been a real pleasure to work with you this afternoon. Been a lot of fun. Fun ball game. It really was. We didn't have a great deal at stake, except if Seattle wins it, they'll be the first third-year expansion team ever to win 9 games.
Well, I've had a lot of fun this whole season. It's my first, and I've got to say I've had more fun than I had in my rookie year in pro football.
All right, let's see if they take the safety. That's exactly what's going to happen. Herman Weaver running out of the end zone. And you take the safety, take advantage of the rules of the game, don't you? That makes it 23-19 with 15 seconds left. And, of course, we're going to have a free kick coming up.
You know, it's a lot of fun watching the game from our vantage point each week. You know, we have the best seat in the house.
Greatest job in the world. I love it.
It's beautiful. There's one thing, though, after sitting here for an entire season, I know that if I were a player, I would put a lot less stock in what was sent down from the press box than I used to, because even with this vantage point, it's very difficult to really find strengths and weaknesses in what teams are doing offensively or defensively.
That's a very interesting observation, because everybody does use the assistant coaches upstairs on the phones. I suppose some teams more than others take that advice.
Well, I think you can get a general feel up here as to whether the linebackers are dropping too deep or they're not, or you're getting quick forces on the outside. But I think the quarterback, and I'll speak from his situation, has a much better feel on the field as far as who's whipping who at their respective positions. He can talk to people in the huddle, ask them what they think they can do and can't do, and I guess it comes back to my belief that the plays ought to be called from the field and not from the press box.
All right, here we go. Weaver will put it in play with a free kick. (23-19), 15 seconds left. Weaver punting the ball, a high one, and it is bobbled and coming out of bounds with 15 seconds still on the clock. Nobody touched it. The clock still showing 15 seconds, and Kansas City with time. Field goal won't help them. They need a touchdown.
That's not what Seattle was trying to accomplish in that situation, though. I know they wanted the ball kicked high so Kansas City would have trouble fielding it, because you can even call for a fair catch on a kick like that.
Now the officials in a discussion, and I don't know what it's about. I do not see any penalty flags. It may be the clock. I don't know what the problem was down there. Getting set to go. Some problem about where the ball was spotted, and now they want a new football. 15 seconds showing on the official clock here. The ball at the 47-yard line of Seattle.
And lightning has struck in a couple of cases like this year. This is far from what Seattle wanted to accomplish on that free kick.
You've got Dorsey in there. They are running the clock down. They took a couple of seconds off the clock down to 13. Field goal will not help the Chiefs. Down 4, Livingston. Stepping up and throwing, and it is almost intercepted. The pass was intended for Larry Dorsey. This one would have been a very tough catch for him. It was a little high at the 20-yard line. Coverage by Cornell Webster and Autry Beeman. 7 seconds left to play.
There's only one thing left to do here, and that is to put 3 receivers on one side of the field, have them camp around the goal line, and throw the ball as high as you can to come down in that particular spot of the field.
Ed, there will be those who go back in this game to that penalty against Kansas City. And then the play on 4th and 1 when Hunter went 55 for the touchdown. Throwing for 2 men and incomplete. And now penalty marker down. And you cannot end this game on a penalty.
They're going to get another shot.
They're going to get a shot. It may be against Autry Beeman, as the pass was intended for Dorsey or Walter White. They were both down there.
And this is how Denver got their shot at the end of the game yesterday. Was an interference call in the end zone that set the ball 1st and goal on the 1. Kansas City now is going to have one play from the 7-yard line. And we'll take a look at the ball coming down. As we talked about, get as many players in one area as possible. And they're saying Beeman played through Henry Marshall, and he hit him prior to the ball coming down, because you can draw interference in that situation.
Marshall goes to the left side. Dorsey is to the right. The ball is at the 7. 1st and goal to go. Last play of the game. Maybe. The throw. Incomplete. He went for Walter White. Pass underthrown. The ball game is over. And Seattle becomes the first third-year expansion team ever to win 9 games. Jack Patera's club finishes 9-7. Kansas City finishes 4-12.